Jeanette.
Mr. Speaker, in line with your communication, Mr. Speaker, which was well written, Mr. Speaker, this is the first time such an incident has happened in the House, where there was an altercation and the person recording the video is an honorable member of the House, Mr. Speaker. All along it has been either outsiders or other people. Mr. Speaker, I know the matter of discipline rests with you under your committee, but Mr. Speaker, I feel that it is very lenient for the member to only to apologize, Mr. Speaker, because the crime he has committed might be even worse than the other two who are fighting, Mr. Speaker. And you saw the way that video was showing many things, Mr. Speaker, many things which were necessary, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, that guy must, the member must get a severe punishment, which is worse than, Mr. Speaker, even the culprits, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Let's listen to his apology and see whether it will attract further sanctions. And for the female member who circulated the video according to Mpuri, if he turns up and mentions you and has proof, you'll also face some sanctions. Next order.
Order number 8, motion, ratification of the agreement on fisheries subsidies, question to be put.
Honorable members, take your seats. Honorable Ferdinand, take the nearest seat. Honorable member on her feet, take the nearest seat. Haika. Honorable members, I'll now put the question at order number 8, which is that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Blue Economy, Water and Irrigation on its consideration of the agreement on fisheries subsidies laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 17th April 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 8(4) of the Treaty Making and Ratification Act, Cap 4D approves the ratification of the agreement on fisheries subsidies. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, motion, report on consideration of the audited accounts of state corporations for Central Region, question to be put.
Honorable Donya, take your seat. Honorable members, I'll now put the question at order number 9, which is that this House adopts the report of the Public Investments Committee on Governance and Education on its examination of the reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements of state corporations, Central Region, for the financial years 2018-2019, 2019-2020, 2020-2021, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 6th December 2023. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 10, special motion, consideration of nominees for appointment as chairperson and members of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC.
Chairman, Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, allow me to move that, taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on the vetting of nominees for appointment as chairperson and members of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 3rd June 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 25(2)(b) of the Constitution, approves the appointment of the following persons to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC. Number 1, Mr. Erastus Edung Ethcon, Chairperson. Number 2, Ms. Anne Jerry Nderitu, Member. Number 3, Mr. Moses Alutalala Muhwana, Member. Number 4, Ms. Mary Karen Sorobit, Member. Number 5, Mr. Hassan Nur Hassan, Member. Number 6, Mr. Francis Othiambo Aduol, Member. And number 7, Ms. Fahima Arafat Abdallah, Member. Honorable Speaker and members, the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee held approval hearings for nominees to be appointed as moved on Saturday, a weekend. This was due to the fact that there was urgency in the matter due to the timelines and also the delay that had been caused by the court order that barred the vetting of the members the previous Monday. As a result, the committee had to burn midnight oil and also spend the entire day first evaluating the report of the selection panel and conducting the hearings physically, whereby all the 7 nominees appeared before the committee and were actually vetted. Allow me, Mr. Speaker, to thank members of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, all of them singularly and plurally, including the Vice Chair, the Honorable Mwengi Mutuse, who is here, Senior Counsel Otiende Amolo, who is here. I saw Dahoud Mohammed of Wajir East here, Johnny Makali of Kandui, Stephen Mogaka of West Mogirango, and the rest of them, all of them, as named in the report, played a key role in actually vetting these members and making this report, which was tendered to this House yesterday, an elaborate report. It's a bit long, but I hope every member has had a chance to read this report, to acquaint himself or herself with it, so that you know the reasons why the committee has made a recommendation that we approve the 7 nominees. The report begins with the chairperson's forward, in which observations are made, including compliance with the Constitution, the reasons why this was done on a Saturday, and the position we take regarding the court order that stopped vetting on the 26th of May. That indeed it appeared on the face of it that the courts were barring or injecting Parliament from carrying its duties. We took exception to that and pointed out that Parliament and the Speaker and the Speakers have ruled on this severally, cannot be injuncted from discharging its constitutional mandate. Be that as it may, this is a house of law. We obey the law as it is. Before we could evaluate the order, we had to obey first. Then after that, we had to evaluate what to do. And fortunately, the judge actually realized the mistake he made. And on that Thursday, he was able to vary the order to what it is in the present form today. The first, chapter 1, which is the preface on the establishment of the committee, is self-speaking. Chapter 2, which is on the background information of the committee and the nominated members, is also self-speaking, and I will not go into this for purposes of saving on time. Chapter 3 is on the memoranda from the public on the suitability of the nominees, and we need to speak on this because there were various issues that were raised by several members of the public, and those issues are captured in chapter 3 of the report, on each member where there was any objection raised. We have not captured the approvals because we also received quite a huge amount of paperwork, which were affidavits in approval. But since we are not required to consider these and table reports on them, because we are only required under the Approvals Act to discuss the objections, we did not capture the approvals. However, we have captured the objections as raised before the committee, and in chapter 3, the House can actually look at what was said about each. I will be commenting on this shortly. And number 4, it's on approval hearings. We have tried to capture this almost verbatim, what each of the nominees presented to us, right from their own opening statements, whereby they gave a history of themselves, and eventually we had to look at their academic background, experience in the works or in the various fields, and suitability, which is a requirement of the law when it comes to vetting. We looked at all this, and it is captured in chapter 4 of the report. Chapter 5 Chapter 4 is quite lengthy because I repeat, it captures almost verbatim what the nominees had to say, including their responses to the objections. Now, chapter 5, which is very important, is on our observations regarding the nominees, our committee observations on the nominees. We have observed whatever it is we took of interest and importance. We have set it in chapter 5 on each of these nominees, and chapter 6 is actually on our recommendations. Having evaluated these particular nominees, we did not hesitate to recommend that each of them be actually approved. Now, who are we approving as the nominees? For the chairperson of IEBC, we have Mr. Erastus Edung Ethekon, who hails from Turkana. Number 1, he was one of the 2 persons who were forwarded to His Excellency the President for nomination, and he was picked from those 2. Then, as regards the process of nominating him, we were satisfied that the process was in compliance with the Constitution and in compliance with the Parliamentary Public Approvals Act. Mr. Ethekon demonstrated knowledge of his area of specialty, which is law, and that he satisfies to be a judge of the Supreme Court, which is a requirement for his appointment. He has more than 15 years of practice, and he also has a lot of experience in other matters, including conflict management, which we think is very important, and especially because of the disputes that arise after elections. There was an objection to Mr. Ethekon's appointment on the basis that he is closely related to the former governor of Turkana, Mr. Josephat Nanok. This was in a sworn statement, and therefore we had to deal with it. On interrogation, Mr. Ethekon confirmed that he has no relationship whatsoever with Mr. Josephat Nanok, apart from work-related relationship. That at one time, he was appointed as the county attorney of Turkana, and he worked with Mr. Josephat Nanok. Even after Mr. Josephat Nanok left office, he continued working with the governor who is presently in that office, and therefore, work-related relationship cannot be a bar to his becoming the chairperson. Otherwise, he demonstrated knowledge of electoral matters, he demonstrated knowledge of law, and he actually confirmed that he has the spine to deal with elections in the Republic, which are ordinarily very emotive. With those remarks, we are convinced that he suits to actually be the chairperson of the IEBC. The second person was Ms. Anne Jerry Deritu, who currently is the registrar of political parties. She has worked for over 10 years with the IEBC, where she rose to become a director. Therefore, in our view, we actually termed her as an insider, a person who knows how IEBC works. There was an objection to her nomination on the basis that she is a state officer. The person who objected stated that the appointment was contrary to the law because she is a state officer. And unfortunately, the law is clear, which is that you cannot be appointed when you are a state officer. The word used is appointment and not nomination. She was able to clarify to our satisfaction that she has not been appointed, she has only been nominated. The third person is Mr. Moses Alutalala Muhwana. Mr. Muhwana, who actually is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya with over 11 years experience. On top of that, he has been a teacher for a long time, amongst the many other things he has done. What struck the committee with satisfaction was his ability to communicate. Mr. Muhwana is a good communicator, especially when he started giving us his journey through life in Kiswahili. Eventually, he answered our questions in English. He is able to speak both languages in a manner that he will be able to relay matters of IBC to the country when the time comes. So, to him, the gem he takes to IBC is that of communication, and I hope he will make use of it, because the one reason Kenyans have a problem with IBC, the trust issues we have with IBC, is purely because communication is not as good. We want to hear what is happening at every step of everything, including awarding of contracts, so that nobody feels we are being shortchanged or somebody is trying to do things under the table with a view to delivering elections that are not credible, fair, and justifiable. Mr. Muhwana will fit that shoe so well. The fourth candidate was Mary Karen Sorobit, another advocate of the High Court of Kenya, who came in with experience from many institutions of the government, including the Advocates Complaints Commission, vetting of judges, and many other areas that she has served in for the last almost 20 years as an advocate. Mary Karen suits the position. We felt that as a lady again, she also gets now into the gender equality, which is very important, and also as a person from South Rift, then again, regional balance is achieved. The fifth person was Mr. Hassan Nur Hassan. Hassan Nur Hassan has worked in the public service for over 40 years. Although today, he is not working with the public service. He has great knowledge in matters public. He has great knowledge in matters dispute and conflict resolution, as he demonstrated. In fact, due to his age, we said the rest of them are young. We require somebody of his age to guide the commission when the time comes. Therefore, in spite of objections raised to him, and there were many, including that he had been in the Rift Valley when there was the clashes, he was able to show that even when he was there and the clashes occurred, he was able to quell them, he was able to resettle these persons, and peace was restored. There was an objection to his relationship with a member of parliament. We will not discuss that much, apart from he is a brother-in-law to the member of parliament. Anything else was not material in the objection, because, as we have said, he is a senior citizen. In fact, his response was that He was where he is even before that member of parliament was born. So it is coincidental that one of them is married to the sister of the other, which does not affect, it does not impair his way of delivering results when it comes working for IBC. With those reasons, we were convinced that his relationship to the member of parliament was actually not material to the way he was going to discharge his duties. Number 6 was Mr. Francis Othiambo Aduol, a gentleman who has worked in the universities ever since time immemorial, with an advanced age, which we also felt was extremely useful for this commission. Number 1, he has great experience in quantity surveying, geospatial engineering, and many other matters he brought before us. He struck the nation because they were listening to him as a person who is highly knowledgeable in matters relating to the earth and the way you can subdivide the earth. All of you are looking forward to having constituencies delimited. And here is one person who is able to match the size of the constituency with the number of persons so that we are able to arrive at a fair and just decision. Therefore, Mr. Francis Aduol is suitable to be a member when it comes to exactly what Kenyans expect, which is fair representation on the basis of constituencies. We did not hesitate to approve Mr. Francis Othiambo Aduol to become a member of the IBC. Finally, there was a young lady who came from a place called Shela in Lamu. Young, she's 32 years old, and the first impression she created was that of a youth. Therefore, youths who have been extremely agitated, they have been anxious, they have been complaining that they do not get involved in such important matters like electoral matters, IBC, etc. Now have one of their own in this particular commission. So, Ms. Fahima represents the youth.
There is a point of order.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I have heard the able chair of this committee refer to this lady, Fahima, and use the word, she created the impression of being a youth. I thought you'd say she is a youth. That impression, that statement is misleading. So, and because we are on the floor of the House, can you correct that and say she is indeed a youth?
Murugara, did she create an impression or she's a youth?
No, she is a youth. Yes. She is actually a youth,
yes,
as required in law.
Yes.
All right? What the impression was, being 32, when she actually appeared, we thought she was in her 20s. Otherwise, she's 32 years old, extremely knowledgeable. No.
That is not a qualification.
That is not a point to be considered, Honorable. Although Honorable Farah kept on constantly repeating that one, and some members found it quite curious. When he gets a turn to speak, he will possibly speak on it. But this young lady has worked ever since she left.
Yes, Honorable Farah.
The Honorable Chair is casting aspersions on me. He doesn't know that my wives are watching this now. And he wants to land me in problem when I go back home. So
he's saying you have roving eyes.
Eh?
You have roving eyes.
Thank you, Honorable Farah. The operative word is wives. The wives are watching, not wife. However, he observed it and let him just tell us something about it. This young lady has worked right from her days after university with Lamu County. She has been a ward admin. She has risen all the way today. She is the CECM finance in that county. So when we evaluated her, she actually met all the parameters that were required. Number one, she's a youth, we repeat. So the youths of the Republic of Kenya are taken care of. And they should not complain again that we, the elderly gentlemen or gentle ladies, are actually avoiding them when it comes to matters important as this one. Number two, she is a lady because she cannot be anything else. Gender. So the ladies have produced a youth who will represent the youths, both the men and the women. And this is extremely important. Number three, she's from a small community. Although Bajuni, she's a Shela, a small community in Lamu, not very developed, marginalized to some extent, but she has actually been able to rise to that important position. And number four, the education. She holds a degree from the university, Kenyatta University. She has worked in senior positions, and she has demonstrated she is able to deliver. And our question was this: can she stand up and defend IBC when it is under attack, especially by the youth? She demonstrated that she will be speaking directly to the youths. Matters IBC. When they issue, when they are questioned, when there are questions to be answered, she will be speaking to the youths directly so that they can hear her and understand her. So, with those very many remarks, we looked at every one of them. We were satisfied that they suit the nominations given to them, and we did not again hesitate to approve all of them. With those remarks, Honorable Speaker, allow me kindly to beg and move and then request the senior counsel in the House, with the permission from my vice chair who is here. Yeah, these days, you know, we are broad-based, and we have to be broad-based everywhere. With my vice chair who is here and is listening attentively. The senior counsel is no other than Honorable Otiende Amolo, the Member of Parliament for Arieda, who sat throughout, listened to these people writing the reports and everything else. Senior counsel, kindly, Mr. Speaker, allow me so that he seconds. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second this special motion, and I thank my chairman, my vice chairman, and the other members for sacrificing not just their Saturday, but their Madaraka. For us, we had no Madaraka on this day because we sat throughout. Mr. Speaker, it's important that Kenyans and this House understands the context in which we are recommending all the nominees to be passed. First of all, Mr. Speaker, we had a very robust vetting session. It was covered live in most of the stations. We posed to the nominees all the questions that had been raised by those who had objected. And there were 3 people who objected, Dr. Gikenyi, Mr. Omondi, and Ms. Masinde. And it is their constitutional right to object. But we were satisfied that all the objections they had raised were sufficiently dealt with to our satisfaction. It is important also to note that in some cases, we actually had to recall some of the nominees for further clarification when some of the members also raised issues which looked like they were not sufficiently addressed. And they came back and answered those questions sufficiently. Mr. Speaker, let me just very briefly speak to some of this. I think the chairman has covered a lot of them. Let me start with the nominee for chair, Erastus Ethekon. It is important to note that for you to be chair of IBC, you must be qualified to be a judge of the Supreme Court under Article 166. To be a judge of the Supreme Court, you need either to have practiced for 15 years as an advocate, or been a judicial officer for 15 years, or have done something relevant in the field of law. We were satisfied that this nominee had practiced for 22 years continuously. But in addition, the work he has done over the period, including his current station as an expert in the African Union Development Agency, NEPAD, in South Africa, qualifies him in any other relevant field of law. And that is why we have recommended him. Mr. Speaker, Madam Anne Deritu objection was based on the fact that she is currently serving as the registrar of political parties. Now, that was satisfied, Mr. Speaker, as explained by the chair, on the issue that the disqualification is on appointment. And this nominee produced to us a ruling by our own speaker of 4th December 2014, which has been religiously followed, that the disqualification comes at the point of appointment, and assured us that should she be successful, she will resign before appointment, and therefore it satisfied that objection. Mr. Speaker, Dr. Moses Alutalala is a man whose journey, who has had an odious educational odyssey, having qualified first as a primary school teacher with a diploma, and then rose through self-education to be one of the first parallel students in law. And his journey has been very long. But of note to us is the fact that he was admitted as an advocate in the year 2014 and was able to produce to us every practicing certificate each year since then. And that satisfies the idea of being a practitioner of at least 10 years. And that's why we were satisfied. Mr. Speaker, Mary Karen Sorobit has practiced law for 29 years. But an objection was raised that she may have been a member of the governing council of a political party, contrary to Article 88. This nominee was able to demonstrate to us that although she served as a deputy CEO in one of the political parties, she was never a member of the governing body, and went to the registrar of political parties and produced those who were members of the governing body for Jubilee since inception, and even for UDA, and therefore was able to demonstrate that she is not disqualified under that rubric. Hassan Nur Hassan is a gentleman with about 40 years in public administration as required by Section 6 of the IBC Act. But of note was an objection that had been raised under Article 88(2)(a), that he may have vied as a governor within the last 5 years. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Hassan was able to demonstrate to us by reading the express provisions of the Constitution that the disqualification only applies to members of parliament and MCAs, not those who vie for president, not those who vie for governor. Mr. Speaker, as a committee, we came to the conclusion that you cannot import a disqualification into the express provision of a text. And therefore, we were able to find that he was not disqualified. The other nominee is Professor Francis Aduol. Mr. Speaker, this Professor Francis Aduol was quite impressive. He is a professor of geospatial science and engineering. Shall I repeat? He's a professor of geospatial science and engineering. And part of his specialty, his first PhD, was on the study of the earth. And he told us he can actually tell where any of you are at any one point if he gets your phone number or something like that. But of importance is the fact that one of his areas is delimitation of boundaries. Delimitation, including the focus on what weight should be placed on population, size, and even poverty. And we came to the conclusion that of all the nominees, this nominee will be very helpful to the commission when it comes to the issue of delimitation. And we are all aware that we are immensely out of time on the question of delimitation. We are also all aware that it's a very emotive matter. It was important to note that Professor Duol has worked with all the bodies that have dealt with this issue, from the Interim Independent Boundaries Commission to the Committee of Experts to the IBC and every other body. And therefore, we had no hesitation in recommending him. Mr. Speaker, Fahima Abdallah, I think that the chairman has spoken to all that there is to speak. She ticks the three very important boxes: youth, minority, and gender, and has had at least 10 years in public administration. Mr. Speaker, This particular nominee was accompanied by her father, and one of the members had the courage to ask whether she was married or not, which was not part of her consideration. And I've heard Honorable Farah objecting that the chair is casting aspersion. But Mr. Speaker, I do not see any aspersions there, because I know Honorable Farah is allowed by religion more than one wife to get even up to the fourth. And even after getting to the fourth, I am sure Honorable Farah is allowed by religion to divorce. Talak, talak, talak. So, so it means Honorable Farah remains permanently eligible.
There is a point. Honorable Farah.
Mr. Speaker, there seems to be a conspiracy against
You
me.
seem to have
No.
you seem to have exhibited some profane behavior.
No.
In the committee.
No. The senior counsel.
What is your point of order?
My point of order is that I did not say that this lady is single. You know what I mean? So, of course, somebody said.
What is your point of order? You are compounding the allegation. Because you seem to be very excited.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Jeanette, what's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, I want to come to the aid of Honorable Farah. Because, Mr. Speaker, as you know, the Honorable Farah is the cuckoo danger of Northern Kenya. Mr. Speaker, you know what I mean, Mr. Speaker?
Yes.
This is the real cuckoo danger, Mr. Speaker, the way you're seeing it.
Yes, Zamzam. Mama Zamzam.
Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nataka niwaambie Mheshimiwa Tendo Amolo na wenzake, huyu ni mtoto wetu mrembo sana mzuri, lakini hajakuja hapo masala ya ndoa, amekuja pale kuchapa kazi. Ni mwanamke, na wanawake wakionekana sehemu sionekane ndoa tu, wapewe nafasi yao ya kuweza kujenga taifa. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Otienda Amolo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I actually agree with the Honorable Zamzam, but hasten to remind her that there is also a right to marry. So it's not excluded in the Constitution. And I am happy that Honorable Farah has sustained his excitement right from vetting to this committee. Mr. Speaker, I second.
Order member on the feet, take your seat. Who is that member with his back to the Speaker? Take your seat. Honorable members, I'll now propose the question at order number 10, which is that, taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on the vetting of nominees for appointment as chairperson and member of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 3rd June 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 252B of the Constitution, approves the appointment of the following persons to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC. 1. Erastus Edung Ethekon, chairperson. 2. Ann Nderitu Njeri, member. 3. Moses Alutalala Muhwana, member. 4. Mary Karen Sorobit, member. 5. Hassan Nur Hassan, member. 6. Francis Odhiambo Adwol, member. And 7. Ms. Fahima Arafat Abdallah, member. Kamket, how many honorable members, how long do you want us to take on this?
5 minutes.
How many?
10 minutes each.
Let me allow some debate, and I'll call the mover to reply at 4:30. Yes, Kamket.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much for the opportunity to contribute to this motion.
Honorable Kamket, I have a proposal from the minority whip that you can compress your contributions in 3 minutes. I'm sure you are capable of doing that, and everybody else. Kamket?
Indeed, Mr. Speaker, what if you cannot say it in 2 minutes or 3, then you better not say it. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for this opportunity. First of all, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for the ruling you made that the vetting of these commissioners or proposed nominees continues, because the attempt to block Parliament would not have been constitutional. Mr. Speaker, the delay in the appointment or in the nomination of the IBC has been very costly to this country. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, as I speak, I feel for the people of Banisa constituency, Msambweni constituency, Magarini constituency, Ugunja, Mbeere North, Malava, as well as the constituency of the nominated member left by Honorable John Mbadi. As well as, Mr. Speaker, the several ward vacancies that have been caused by the delay in the delay of the constitution of this commission. Mr. Speaker, when the IBC, when we approve this commission, their job, their hands will be full as they seek, Mr. Speaker, to look at, number one, the delimitation of boundaries in the constituencies. In fact, Mr. Speaker, one of the constituencies I believe, as we move forward, that needs to be divided into 3 is Tiati constituency. Tiati constituency deserves to have 3 members of parliament. It's not because that I'm not capable of representing Tiati as it is now, but the size and the population, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, the commission needs time to look at the operationalization of the KIMS kits, because that is one of the major revolutionary achievements that we achieved as we reformed our constitution and we reformed the IBC Act at the beginning. Mr. Speaker, one of the most important things in our election cycle is this thing called KIMS. And I want to tell all those lazy politicians who always want to blame the referee. Mr. Speaker, I have hardly spoken. And I see the red light is there. Mr. Speaker, it is important for any politician to understand that votes can only be found by hard work. All those politicians who come and blame the referee, Mr. Speaker.
Kainan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
When I gave you 3
Mr. Speaker, from onset, let me say I support the approval of these 7 great Kenyans, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we do not have a perfect society. That's why God, the Almighty, allowed us to submit to the will of God. And the will of God also allows us to have rules in the form of regulations, constitutions, and everything else. Mr. Speaker, having said this, these individuals have gone through all the due process. We have an election, we have a constitution, we have an election act, Mr. Speaker. The election act stipulates that we ought to have a panel. The panel mandate is clearly spelled out, Mr. Speaker. We have the Public Appointment Act. We have the vetting, the entire process. They have gone through, they have been subjected to public participation, The public have also had the right to say what they wanted to say, and ultimately the concerned committee made a decision that these 7 individuals were eligible to be approved by this House. But Mr. Speaker, we must speak as Kenyans. We have politicized literally everything, Mr. Speaker, in this country. Isn't it the high time that we think out of the box and be prepared to contribute to the continued peace, stability, respect, and tranquility, Mr. Speaker, so that as a country, we are respected, we respect ourselves, we are respected regionally, we are respected continentally, and we are respected globally, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, right now, everything bad in this region, we have been projected as a society that ever complains. We have been projected as a society that does not believe in itself. We have been projected as a society that does not have faith in its own administrative mechanism. Mr. Speaker, I know managing elections is a very difficult time. The membership, out of the 7, quite a number of them come from the pastoral community. Wherever they are, I want to ask them this. You have been entrusted with a very important exercise. I may not talk to you individually, but collectively, we want you to carry the image of this republic. We want you to continue to project the respect the Kenyan people, through this parliament, have allowed you. Mr. Speaker, I do know right now that many people maliciously, capriciously, have tried to impute improper motive on these individuals. Mr. Speaker, I do know that once they are approved, and I pray that this other process is going to be shortened, they will carry the flag of this country high. They will project our image. They will continue to protect Kenya as a very important premier republic, and ultimately give us a credible election in 2027, Mr. Speaker.
Time up. Joseph Emathe, member for Turkana. Give him the mic.
Speaker, I want to thank you so much for this opportunity. First, allow me to thank the committee that was able to vet and bring out a good report of these people. Honorable Speaker, from the background, I want to speak to this man called Erastus Ethekon, the chair for IBC. Honorable Speaker, this is a demonstration of equity, a demonstration of inclusion, and Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the committee plus those who were able to nominate him. Honorable Speaker, first, this is a rare gem, Honorable Speaker, and I will want to attach it to a hummingbird, that in the first northern frontiers of Kenya, we were able to get a man who was determined and was able to rise up from a humble background, from the dust, from areas that are excluded, from areas that are always denied an opportunity, to where he has become. Honorable Speaker, as a hummingbird again, Erastus was able to become the first breed of law students from Turkana. And Honorable Speaker, as a hummingbird, he was able to flap his wings very hard many times to be what he became and to even be interviewed in that panel. Honorable Speaker, second, Erastus has been able to even be interviewed as a judge for this country. An opportunity was not able to get, but given his background, Erastus rose to be interviewed in that committee or board. Honorable Speaker, as at now, I want to say as a hummingbird, this Erastus will be able to go fast and even be able to land at an opportune time. Second, this guy will be able to even maneuver in the darkness and be able to get the direction. And Honorable Speaker, this is a man that I know, given our democracy, he will be able to be acquitted with whichever that is required and be able to give us a drop of what it means to have a fair election. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I submit.
Zamzam.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Na mimi niweze kupongeza kamati ambayo iliweza kuwapiga msasa hawa makamishna, wakahakikisha kuwa baada ya muda mrefu Wanakenya walikuwa wanauliza tunaelekea wapi, mwisho wakawapa jawabu kuwa ni hawa ambao wameteuliwa. Mheshimiwa Spika, niweze kuwapongeza makamishna wote ambao wameteuliwa wakiongozwa na mwenyekiti wao, na niseme kuwa kama Wanakenya tunafurahi kwa sababu tumeona wamechanganya. Leo tumepata chair ambaye ametoka katika jamii ambayo ni ya wachache, na hii inaonyesha kuwa Kenya tumekubali uongozi ni kutoka mahali popote. Mheshimiwa Spika, Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi hasa ninasimama kwa sababu ya mtoto wangu ama mwanangu ama niseme mtoto wa Pwani Faima, ambaye ametoka katika jamii ndogo sana kule Shela. Mheshimiwa Spika, nilikuwa nafuatilia vetting yao wakati unapigwa msasa, na nilikuwa naangalia maswali vile yanavyoulizwa katika ile kamati, na nikasema huu mtoto ama youth amekuwa na ujasiri mkubwa sana, na ameshika bendera ya vijana wetu katika taifa kwa kuweza kuonyesha kuwa pia vijana wana nguvu na ari ya kushika katika sehemu kama hizi ambazo ni sehemu kubwa sana katika taifa. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi napenda kuombea Mungu, najua hino kazi na mitihani mingi sana, lakini nawaombea Mungu inshallah wakati ambapo utafika wa kuanza kufanya kazi zao, wao wanaweza kulindwa na Mwenyezi Mungu na wasimame na haki na usawa. Hatutaki kuangalia ama kuona maafa katika taifa, tunawategemea kutoa haki kwa wananchi. Na Faima, mimi nasema kama mama kaunti wa Mombasa, na kuombea Mungu sana. Umetuheshimisha wanawake, na umeheshimisha vijana. Ulizungumza kwa ujasiri, umeonyesha elimu yako ilipofikia, na mimi napenda sana na nimependezwa sana, na kuombea Mwenyezi Mungu na azidi kukubariki pamoja na wenzako, na Kenya izidi kuenda mbele. Kwa hiyo tuko tayari kwenye uchaguzi. Mheshimiwa Spika, asante sana.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, allow me also to rise in support of this motion for the approval of the nominees for the IEBC Commission. Honorable Speaker, first is worth noting, Honorable Speaker, that as much as the committee and the panel have done a very good job in vetting these nominees, first the panel in interviewing them and the committee in vetting them, we have been without an IEBC Commission now for the last almost 3 years. And we are indeed 3 years late in establishing an IEBC Commission. That's why, Honorable Speaker, I agree with you when you said that there is nobody under our Constitution who can injunct us from either vetting or approving these names. Honorable Speaker, I also want to speak to those who are in the judiciary to be considerate of the circumstances that we are in as a nation. Honorable Speaker, moving on to the nominees, it's saddening, Honorable Speaker, that because of politics, a number of us out there had started demonizing some of these nominees, largely on account of where they come
Leader,
from.
although you are entitled to 15 minutes, but I want you to be considerate and speak for much less.
I will endeavor to do that, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I was saying it was very inconsiderate also, now that I want to be considerate, to hear somebody who has held a high national office assert that Erastus, the nominee, Mr. Erastus Edung Ethekon, the nominee for chair, does not warrant to hold that position on account of where he comes from. It was sad, Honorable Speaker, that somebody can say, because Erastus comes from a community that he perceives not to have shares or adequate shares in his own analysis, that Ethekon does not deserve to chair this commission. Honorable Speaker, if you read through the CV of this gentleman, a master's in law from the University of Derby in the UK, a postgraduate, a bachelor's from the University of Nairobi in law. This is someone who qualifies to be a judge of the High Court or even the Supreme Court, Honorable Speaker, and that is all that is required in law. The law never required you to come from an ethnic community that pleases those who think
that it is on the basis of your ethnicity that people should be given jobs. Honorable Speaker, I want to say Mr. Erastus Ethekon, wherever he comes from, whether he comes from Nyeri or from Turkana, he is a Kenyan. And it was rather unfortunate to hear the former deputy president, the impeached deputy president, and disgraced former deputy president, assert that Mr. Ethekon does not warrant to be nominated for this position on account of the community he comes from. I heard another one, Honorable Speaker, Martha Karua, saying that this Ethekon comes from some bush somewhere. Turkana is not a bush. It is part and parcel of our republic. And we must respect people not on the basis of where they come from, but on the basis of what the content of their heads. And I am sure this lawyer is a better lawyer than Martha Karua. By far, I am certain. He's a much better lawyer. Honorable Speaker, this county of Turkana has produced a very well-schooled individual, Honorable Speaker. And I speak about Ethekon because I heard him being attacked by these disgruntled political faces on account not on his qualifications, not on his ability or capacity to lead this commission, but largely on the basis of where he comes from. And it's rather sad that people who purport to have held national offices can demonize a whole community on the basis, or a person on the basis of the community they comes from. And I want to say this, Erastus, looking at his CV, just like the CVs of all these other nominees, are people who qualify to serve the Republic of Kenya as commissioners of an independent electoral and boundaries commission, Honorable Speaker. And as I said, we are rather late in establishing this commission, Honorable Speaker. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, to speak to those out there who are looking at these people on the basis of their ethnicities, on the basis of the villages they come from, let me tell them, you will never win an election on the basis of who is presiding over that election. You win elections based on what agenda you take to the people. If you take an agenda of
Honorable
ethnicity...
Joseph Ematho, you have already spoken on this. What is irritating you? Yes, what's your point of order?
Honorable Speaker, I beg if you will allow, and even to guide on this, that that thing has not been able to be responded well in my community. And we have the Committee on Cohesion. We also have a Commission on the same. And Honorable Speaker, if that could be picked, if that could be picked as a country, because that
Honorable Mother, I gave you an opportunity to speak. You didn't even mention that. Take your seat.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Maybe I reminded the Honorable Member what was said of this great man from the lakeside of Turkana. And he's a great leader. And I was saying, Honorable Speaker, you never win an election based on who is presiding over that election. If you want to win an election, take your agenda to the people of Kenya. Speak to the people of Kenya. You will never win an election based on hatred. You will never win an election because you are showing bitterness to everybody or belittling people from certain communities because you think the village you come from is more important than other villages in Kenya, Honorable Speaker. We all come from certain villages, and they are as important as your small village, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, this commission, as I said, we are 3 years late. And the sooner we approve, the sooner the president appoints, and the sooner this commission begins working, the better for this country, Honorable Speaker. Because there are people who are suffering in this country, lacking representation, Honorable Speaker. The people of Banisa, may I not remind you, Honorable Speaker, have sued you. Yes. Not anybody else, you as a Speaker of the National Assembly, because they lack representation in this House. And so are the other constituencies, Honorable Speaker, the people of Magarini, the people now of Kasipul, Kabondo, and many wards across the country where people are lacking representation simply because we do not have an IBC. In fact, Honorable Speaker, any leader, whether in this House or outside there, who is not in support of this motion and the establishment of a new IEBC is an enemy to this republic, is an enemy to the people of Kenya. That is someone who does not wish this country well. And may I dare say, Honorable Speaker, even any person in the judiciary who would imagine that they would come into the way of stopping us from having an IEBC, you would not be acting in the best interest of the Republic and the people of Kenya, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, may I also take this opportunity, Speaker, to plead with our judges and the judiciary, Honorable Speaker, to take what they call, or what you lawyers call, judicial notice of the circumstances that we are in as a country. We have the elections pending. We have electoral delimitation to be done ahead of the elections. May I also remind us, ourselves, Honorable Speaker, the Kriegler Commission told us that at least 2 years before every election, we should have a commission ready. Honorable Speaker, we are slightly above that 2-year threshold. It is time we have a commission so that if there's the limitation that they will do, they're able to do that. If they have to register new voters, they need time to register new voters. They need to remove those who are deceased from the register of voters. And they need to clean up the register of voters in good time, so that when we defeat these hate mongers in the next elections, Honorable Speaker, they will have no excuse. Those who have a premonition that 2027, Honorable Speaker, as was said here in the adjournment motion by the leader of minority, those who imagined, Honorable Speaker,
point
that
of
would...
order from Chepkonga. What's your point of order?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, you know, I was just listening very carefully to the majority leader, and I don't intend to interrupt him because he's saying very palatable things, Mr. Speaker. It is not impalatable. You know, he's saying very good things. The only thing that he has just said is that these nominees must be approved as soon as possible. And I thought Standing Order 97 allows us to approve as soon as possible. Would I be in order, Mr. Speaker, to request you to call the mover to reply so that we approve as soon as possible?
Honorable
Mr. Speaker, you had said 4:30.
I had already said at what time I'll call the mover to reply. Yes. Yes. So wind up.
I think, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Chepkonga was simply prompting me to close this so that we can approve these names as soon as possible, as he says, Honorable Speaker. And now I've even lost what I was saying. But Honorable Speaker, allow me to say that we need this commission as early or as soon as we can, Honorable Speaker, to allow this commission to get down to work. Honorable Speaker, in closing, I was saying, in 2 years' time, we'll have a general election, because that is time-bound, and we must have a general election. And therefore, we must work within the timeline that is given to ensure that the commission that we establish or the commission that we put in place has adequate time to put all the measures necessary to ensure that we have an election in 2027 that will be beyond reproach, so that we shame the hate mongers, the war mongers who have been threatening us that 2027 there will be more bloodshed than 2007, Honorable Speaker. Those war mongers, those bloodthirsty leaders, Honorable Speaker, or so-called leaders who do not deserve to be leaders, if they can imagine that the 2007 post-election violence was a Christmas party, Honorable Speaker, we must shame them today by approving these names, having a commission in place, and having credible elections in 2027. And I am certain we will beat them on the basis of an agenda that is pro-people, an agenda that is transforming lives across the country, as they move around the country spreading hatred, inciting Kenyans, showing a lot of bitterness, and imagining that Kenya will go into the abyss because of their anger and hatred for other Kenyans. With that, I beg to support, Honorable Speaker.
Members, I had said I'll call the mover to reply at 4:30. It's now 4:32. Murugara.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Members, you are all saying the same thing.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Those who have not spoken, those who have spoken for all of you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I join you actually in acknowledging all the members who have spoken and thanking them for their very valuable contributions. I know many of them would have also loved to say something about either all the nominated commissioners or a few of them. Honorable Farah was actually raring to say something, but we have spoken for him. My vice chair here, Honorable Mwengi Mutuse, was gearing to actually do a valuable contribution, and everybody else. Thank you so much for this. to the IBC commissioners, we will approve your nominations this afternoon. But Kenyans are watching and they are saying, if you do not have the spine to conduct elections, start growing one now. Because we have to have a fair, just, credible, verifiable election, which every Kenyan is going to be satisfied with. And those of us who may differ with those who are supporting, please do not make any threats to the country. We have our constitution, we have our laws, and we have institutions which we must have faith in. I know for sure there are trust issues with IEBC. It is the high time these 7 commissioners now grew the trust so that Kenyans can believe in this institution, which is very important for the country, known as the IEBC. Thank you so much. With those remarks, I beg to reply.
Members on their feet, take your seats. Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 10, which is the taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on the vetting of nominees for appointment. Order. Murugara. Order. Let me put the question once more. Which is the taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on the vetting of nominees for appointment as chairperson and members of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 3rd June 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 252B of the Constitution, approves the appointment of the following persons to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC. 1. Erastus Edung Ethekon, chairperson. 2. Ann Nderitu Njeri, member. 3. Moses Alutalala Muhwana, member. 4. Mary Karen Sorobit, member. 5. Hassan Nur Hassan, member. 6. Francis Odhiambo Aduol, member. 7. Fahima Arafat Abdallah, member. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 11, motion. Ratification of the agreement under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea on the conservation and sustainable use of marine biological diversity of areas beyond national jurisdiction, BBNJ agreement.
Bowen, before you move, allow me to acknowledge in the speaker's gallery Annesens Boys High School from Ainabukoi was in Gishu. On behalf of myself and the House and the member for Ainabukoi, you want to 1 minute only because we are interrupting the moving of a motion. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your very kind and generous generosity in allowing me to recognize, on behalf of the House, the students from Annesens High School in Ainabukoi constituency. This is a boys' school, Mr. Speaker, which has very many students. It is the biggest boys' school in Ainabukoi constituency. Mr. Speaker, when I see these students, it reminds me what the late president of South Africa said. He said that education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change your world. Their visit to this house will indeed change their world. What they have seen, it's an educational tour, and what they have seen, Mr. Speaker, will change their world. I want to encourage them to continue to study and to excel in their exams. I wish them well when they sit for the exams. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I join you in welcoming the students, their teachers, and those accompanying them to the House of Parliament. Bowen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that the House approves the report of Departmental Committee of Blue Economy, Water and Irrigation and its consideration on the agreement under the United Nations Convention on the laws of the sea on the conservation and sustainable use of marine biological diversity of areas beyond the national jurisdiction, that is a PB&J agreement. Honorable Speaker, the PB&J agreement was tabled in the National Assembly on Tuesday, 29 April 2025, and subsequently referred to the committee pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 170A. The committee was mandated, Honorable Speaker, to facilitate the public participation and make an appropriate recommendations on whether the House should approve with reservation or reject the ratification of the agreement. Mr. Speaker, the agreement provides a comprehensive framework to address the critical gaps in the conservation and sustainable use of marine biodiversity in areas beyond the national jurisdiction. The agreement was adopted in 19 June 2023 in New York, USA, by Intergovernmental Conference on Marine Biodiversity of Areas Beyond the National Jurisdiction under the auspice of the United Nations General Assembly. And it addresses quite a number of issues. Honorable Speaker, some of those areas addressed by this treaty is marine genetic resources, including a fair and equitable benefit sharing, the area-based management tools, which are used by the Marines and those who are doing business in marine, the environmental impact assessment. This is, Honorable Speaker, those who are doing marine business, either exploration or even fishing, before they conduct on a serious industrial in our waters, they must conduct an environmental impact assessment, capacity building and transfer of marine technology. Madam Speaker, Article 26 of our Constitution, read together with the Treaty Making and Ratification Act 4D, provides a legal foundation for incorporating international treaties into a domestic law. The National Assembly plays a critical oversight role in ratification and ensuring conformity with the constitutional values and public interest. Further, to Article 25, Honorable Speaker, of the Constitution stipulates that the general rules of international law shall form part of the laws of Kenya. Article 26 provides that any treaty or convention ratified by Kenya shall become part of Kenyan laws under this Constitution. And that is why we are bringing this treaty, Honorable Speaker, before this House this afternoon. Madam Speaker, the Treaty Making Ratification Act 4D operationalizes Article 26 of our Constitution and defines a treaty as any international agreement concluded between states and governed by international law, whether single instrument or a multiple related instruments. In this regard, it is only upon ratification by the National Assembly that the treaties and the conventions becomes part of our laws. Madam Speaker, the committee placed an advert in 2 national newspapers on Monday, 6th May 2025, inviting for a public memoranda in compliance with Article 118, Subarticle 1B of our Constitution and subsection A3 of the Treaty Making Ratification Act under our own standing orders under number 170A. While no memoranda was received, Honorable Speaker, by deadline, the committee convened a stakeholders consultation meeting on Thursday, 29 May 2025 at Radisson Blue Hotel with representatives from the State Department of Blue Economy and Fisheries, from Attorney General Office, the State Department of Foreign Affairs, Kenya International Boundaries Office, and International Union for Conservation of Nature, Africa. And Madam Speaker, after consultation, the committee made several observations. Number one, the BPNJ agreement is open for signature by all states and regional economic integration organization from 20th September 2023 to 20th September 2025. And it will enter into force after 120 days from the date, Honorable Speaker. Upon ratification, Madam Speaker, the Kenya will need to align its laws, the regulations, and administrative procedures with the agreement. This includes reviewing the legislation on environmental protection, ocean governance, and biodiversity. Kenya will be eligible to submit proposals for areas-based management tools, ABMTs, including the marine protected areas, subject to scientific review and stakeholder consultation. The agreement is consistent, Madam Speaker. I want to confirm that this agreement is consistent with the Constitution and promoting the environmental conservation as outlined under Articles 60, Sub-Article 1E of our Constitution and 69, Sub-Article 1A, E, F, G, and H, Madam Speaker. The Kenya may be required to contribute financially to institutions established under the agreement, including the Secretariat. However, the country stands to benefit from the targeted support for developing countries through the capacity building, technology transfer, and technical assistance. The ratification will improve the ocean health, strengthen institutions, build capacity, and help meet sustainable development goals, and position Kenya as a regional leader in BBNJ and blue economy matters. The provision is focused on ecological connectivity and regulation of fishing in ABNJ will protect the African coastal waters from overfishing by foreign fleets or foreign ships. Madam Speaker, Part 4 of that treaty establishes a detailed process of how the environmental impact analysis is going to be done, and it's applicable to activities in APNJ, that is in the auctions, those within the national jurisdictions with significant environmental risks in APNJ. And Part 4 extends to the digital sequence, that's information, recognizing their commercial value. This is just for technology transfer, Madam Speaker. While the access and the benefit sharing committee is established with the defined terms, the institution architecture includes the secretariat seat, the membership, and the tenure. Remains still part of this treaty, Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Kenya should advocate for hosting opportunities, representation, and employment within the institutions established under the agreement to ensure equitable benefits for developing nations. There is need for evidence-based research in a treaty ratification process to optimize national benefits as envisaged under CAF 4D. The agreement provides that no reservations or exceptions may become made of the agreement, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the committee, having deliberated and conducted a public participation in line with the Constitution, the Treaty-Making Ratification Act and our standing orders recommends the following. One, that pursuant to Articles 10, Sub-Article 1, Article 70 and 71 of our Constitution, that the agreement shall not apply to utilization of marine, genetic resources and digital sequence information collected or genetic before an agreement entry into force for Kenya. Number two, that the agreement shall not undermine existing international treaties, agreements or framework to which Kenya is party, including but not limited to United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea and the Indian Ocean Tuna Commission. That the Ministry of Mining and Blue Economy and Fisheries and other relevant ministries and state agencies to submit a quarterly updates to the committee on, 1, the implementation of the agreement, number 2, the financial and non-financial benefits, and number 3, the capacity building activities derived from the agreement. Honorable Speaker, that is what this treaty is all about, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, at the coastal regions, we have what is called the coastal lines. In Kenya, we have about 200 nautical miles, which is our boundary. But beyond that, Madam Speaker, is what we are calling beyond the national jurisdiction. And this treaty basically was crafted or was developed to make sure that the areas which is beyond jurisdiction, if there is someone who wants to utilize that around that area, at least there is procedures, there are rules on how the resources which you get from there are going to benefit the member states. It also provides on some regulations. If you have to get into that area which is beyond the jurisdiction, and you want to do some mining, Honorable Speaker, you have to carry out some environmental impact analysis, because by so doing, at least you must be approved that what you are going to do is not going to harm the marine life. And then the other thing, Honorable Speaker, is that these treaties, if we sign as a country, there is a lot of benefits. We are going to benefit from a technology transfer, because there are some other member states which are more advanced on issues of marine, the US, the UK. So for us, which we don't have that kind of a technology, Honorable Speaker, being a member of this treaty, we are going to benefit in that technology transfer. So, Madam Speaker, I think as a country we stand to benefit if we adopted this treaty, and I want to ask all my colleagues that we approve this treaty to be part of our laws, and we are going to benefit from our natural resources, especially in the marine areas. Madam Speaker, I want to move and ask the member, my honorable member of the committee, the member for Matuka, Engineer Kasim Sawa Dandasa, to second.
Give him the mic. Maybe you might have to move to another. Okay, there you are, Robert Tandaza.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable members, as the chairman has clearly stated, this is a treaty whereby if we assent through this House by passing this motion, the country is bound to benefit immensely. If I'm to stand along the shores of the Indian Ocean in my constituency at Zote Beach or Diani Beach, which most of us know, and we face east, we will be looking at 12 nautical miles, which are supposed to be territorial part of Kenya, 12 nautical miles. Beyond the 12 nautical miles, we are having 200 nautical miles, which is part of Kenya in terms of exclusive economic zone. The 12 miles is territorial. It's part of the country Kenya. The remaining 200 miles is for purposes of economic and exclusive again to Kenya. This is an area where we can license other countries if they are to do any economic activities within the 200 nautical miles. But this agreement is this treaty is looking at beyond the 200 nautical miles, commonly referred to the high seas, or now the area beyond the national jurisdiction, whereby each country or any nation can exploit that area without referring to Kenya, though it's part of the Indian Ocean. With the level of development that we have, Honorable Speaker and honorable members, we are not able actually to monitor that area. As it stands, we are not even able to monitor effectively the EEZ, the 200 miles. And out of this treaty, it's the only way we're going to get an opportunity to actually know what is happening at the high seas, that is the area beyond the national jurisdiction. And since we don't have the economic power, we don't have the technology, it is only by us assenting to this treaty that we'll be able to actually benefit by the knowledge that is will be being harvested there, the natural resources that will be being harvested there. And since the oceans are for prosperity, even when the time comes that now we can also exploit that area, then we will be able actually to know how much fish, how much biodiversity there is in that area, and therefore benefit. Honorable members, without deliberating so much, now that we have a whole ministry of blue economy, this is the right time for us to ratify this treaty so that the country can benefit. There will even be a fund through this treaty whereby as a country will be able to actually apply and tap into once we are signatories to this treaty. With those few remarks, I second.
Honorable members, it's been exciting listening to this because my degree was in maritime law and I studied law of the sea. One of the subjects was memorizing the United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea. So it's wonderful to see that's been expanded after so many years of having it been signed in the first place. So with that, honorable members, it's my pleasure to propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Blue Economy, Water and Irrigation on its consideration of the agreement under the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea on the conservation and sustainable use of marine biological diversity of areas beyond the national jurisdiction, BBN, agreement laid in the table of this House on Wednesday, 4th June 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 8.4 of the Treaty Making and Ratification Act of 2012, approves the ratification of the agreement under the United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea on the conservation and sustainable use of marine biological diversity of areas beyond national jurisdiction, BBN agreement. Okay. Members who want to contribute, just press the intervention button. Honorable Peter Kaluma, I know we were running the Law of the Sea program together.
Speaker, thank you very much. The many things you taught me at the University of Nairobi was public international law, more so the law of the sea. And so, Honorable Speaker, I understand the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, which you taught us was ratified in 1982. Honorable members, the sea territories are delimited in a particular way. 20 nautical miles from the shoreline is the territorial sea. And that part of the sea called the territorial sea is treated as part of the state from which the sea moves. After that, Honorable Speaker, 24 nautical miles from the territorial sea is the contiguous zone. It is called the contiguous zone because it is a zone where if there were war, it is a place to which again a territorial state is entitled for purposes of its exclusive war engagements. Honorable Speaker, 200 nautical miles from the shoreline of a territorial state into the sea is the exclusive economic zone. And that exclusive economic zone, Honorable Speaker, will mean that for purposes of economic exploitation, and I'm emphasizing this, Honorable Speaker, because we came from the Blue Economy Madaraka Day celebration. And you get people largely talking about fish and fish stock. The exclusive economic zone is the entitlement of a territorial state bordering a sea for purposes of exclusive economic exploitation. So whether it is fish stock, whether it is marine life, whether it is minerals prospected and discovered under those waters, they exclusively belong to the state. I'm emphasizing that to make the point, Honorable Speaker, that when you go deep into 200 nautical miles, I can tell you if you put that water area together, it means nearly a third of the territorial boundary of Kenya is within the sea for purposes of exclusive economic zone. Honorable Speaker, under the exclusive economic zone is the continental shelf. The continental shelf entitlement of a territorial state also goes up to 200 nautical miles, but with the agreement of the world bodies, it can be extended up to 350 nautical miles. And let me confirm to the House that for purposes of the continental shelf, we've gotten the permission of the relevant committee and international body, and now we stretch up to 350 nautical miles. That means anything falling within the continental shelf from across the Indian Ocean can be exploited again exclusively by Kenya following the agreement of the international community up to that level. Honorable Speaker, beyond the exclusive economic zone and the continental shelf is the high seas. And Honorable Speaker, you know, that is the area that we say is res communis. It falls within the right of the entire global community. And that is the area, Honorable Speaker, this treaty we are seeking to ratify is concerned about. There have been cases, Honorable Speaker, where highly industrialized nations, you go to China, you go to Japan, you go to those countries which manufacture or own big ships, they are trolling in these res communis, the IC areas, or those areas not falling within the exclusive jurisdiction of the territorial state. And what has been happening, Honorable Speaker, is that when you go trolling, you are searching for a specific, for instance, fish species, but you catch everything the nets will go with. And essentially, what you don't need, you just throw them away. So out of those practices, we are killing a lot of marine life, and then there is need, that area being a res communis, to be protected by this convention whose ratification, our agreement as Parliament, is needed for. I wanted to end, because of time, Honorable Speaker, by emphasizing the point that if you look at states like Kenya, Honorable Speaker, even going up to 50 nautical miles is still a problem because of the sizes of the ships we have and the level of technologies. We need to up our ability as a nation by investing in proper ships at our navies and at other levels so that we can protect marine life within those areas. But the areas beyond our territorial water boundaries are areas which we must protect under agreements such as this, which can, restrict these states with the power from finishing the marine life, from ensuring that we have waters which are sustainably used for people today, available for our children tomorrow, and available for our children's children in the future. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I thank you very much, and I request the approval of my colleagues for this convention, whose being here confirms, Honorable Speaker, that indeed nothing can have the force of law in this country unless it is a provision coming from this House. So may we signify our approval so that this convention is ratified, it becomes part of our law, and the protection of those areas falling under the remit of res communis is guaranteed under this agreement. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to thank you for giving me this opportunity. And Mr. Speaker, I want to thank Honorable Ali Hassan Joho, the CS for Blue Economy, for bringing this agreement before this House. Mr. Speaker, the BBJN agreement is an agreement under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea on the conservation and sustainable use of marine biological diversity of areas beyond national jurisdiction. Mr. Speaker, I am a member of the Parliamentarians for Global Action, or PGA, where I have served as executive in the Executive Council, and now currently a member of the Council, and also the current chair of the Kenyan chapter. And Mr. Speaker, we have worked very, very strongly around this convention and on the issues of conservation of the oceans and the high seas in general. And therefore, the bringing of this convention to be ratified by the House is very welcome. Mr. Speaker, the agreement addresses 4 main issues. It addresses the marine genetic resources, including the fair and equitable sharing of benefits in the areas that Honorable Kaluma calls the res communes. Mr. Speaker, because of the limited resources, there's always been a perception that the resources in the waters are limitless or infinite. But time has shown that they actually can be misused and can be exhausted, and therefore it's very important that not only that they should be conserved, but that there is equitable sharing, because there has been an imbalance sharing with developed countries having more advantage than the developing countries. Yet we know that if indeed there is a place that still has a lot of resources, it's the high oceans, the high seas. Mr. Speaker, it also talks about measures such as area-based management tools, including marine protected areas, and especially again for ensuring that we conserve and expand what we already have there. Mr. Speaker, it talks about environmental impact assessments and capacity building and the transfer of marine technology that the mover mentioned when he was talking about. It also talks about cross-cutting issues such as establishing a funding mechanism and setting up institutional arrangement, including the conference of parties and various subsidiary bodies, a clearinghouse, and a secretariat. Mr. Speaker, it indeed is a very good convention, and I do support. Mr. Speaker, however, I'm concerned about one thing, that if you look at this convention and a lot of the things that are coming here, the focus is very strongly on the high seas and the oceans. And sometimes we forget our internal waters. And one, I think it's when the mover was commenting, or the person who was seconding, that commented that it is important that we domesticate, once we ratify, that we domesticate by providing laws that will be speaking to the same issues as what is contained here. Mr. Speaker, I would want to encourage the committee that when they'll be looking at those laws, nothing stops them from expanding into our internal waters and specifically into Lake Victoria. Mr. Speaker, yesterday as a Committee on Defense, we were looking, we had an engagement with an agency that works with our international boundaries, and they were talking about boundary demarcations. But if you actually look at a lot of the conflicts that happen in our whether internal waters or the high seas, the conflicts with other nations is generally about resources. And 2 of our islands were mentioned, Remba and Ringiti. And Remba and Ringiti were mentioned because they are actually very critical islands in terms of demarcating our boundaries. But Mr. Speaker, those are some of the islands that always have a lot of conflicts with the Tanzania and Uganda on fisheries. And Mr. Speaker, it is not a conflict because of political issues. It's a conflict on fishing. It's a conflict on resources. And therefore, if you are able to replicate in our internal waters a convention that is similar to this one, or even there's nothing stopping us, even amending the Fisheries Act, to bring something of this sort. The only reason why the Act would be limiting, it's because the Act will only talk to Kenya. But if we provide a treaty, then it will actually deal with our neighbors as well. So I would want to encourage the committee to look at this. And Mr. Speaker, even as I complete, Honorable Kaluma and the speaker before you were really boasting how they have done international law and dealt with ICs. I can also boast that me and Honorable Karoli here were students of environmental law at our master's level, and we studied environmental law at a master's level. But do I say, Mr. Speaker, and I'm surprised that Honorable Karoli is not keen on speaking. But we are students of environmental law.
What's your point of order, Honorable Kaluma? Yeah. What's out of order?
Honorable Speaker, I didn't just study public international law. I'm the first lawyer in this country to specialize in law of the sea. In fact, I assisted our Navy in delimiting our sea boundaries when Abu Rafruf was still the Navy commandant. So Honorable Mili should confine herself to environmental issues within the sea areas.
What's your point
not
of order?
talking, not knowing I'm a specialist in that area.
What's your point of order?
Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Member for Homa Bay is actually misleading the House. Yes. The premier mind on law of the sea was the late Akicho Kola, Deputy Solicitor General, who attended all the negotiations until the law of the sea was signed in 1982.
Yes.
It is Akicho Kola. And the one speaking is the author of the National Environmental Management and Coordination Act. So stop misleading the House.
The Honorable Kaluma.
Honorable information. Honorable Speaker, Okola participated in coming up with the United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea. But at the very heart of that convention was Dr. Androniko Oduogo Adede from Kwabuaen, the Homa Bay. And that is something for which he is credited. And Dr. Androniko Oduogo Adede was my master's lecturer when I was studying Law of the Sea. I think that is a point Honorable Karoli was forgetting.
Mr. Speaker, I have the floor. Mr. Speaker, I have the floor. And I want to educate Honorable Kaluma and tell him that there's a reason that I'm a senior lawyer. The Honorable Dr. Andriko Dede that is so proudly talking about was my boss in Letwal International. So don't even try.
Yes.
We've been there, done that, and got a t-shirt. So don't even try.
Majority Leader. Majority Leader. Give the mic to the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I just want to inform the House that the Honorable Kaluma is from Homa Bay County. The Honorable Mili Odhiambo is from Homa Bay County. The Honorable Karoli Omondi is from Homa Bay County. And you can hear the debate is about the law of the sea, environmental law, and the battle of wits of great men and women, great scholars from the county of Homa Bay. And Honorable Speaker, you know, we were in Homa Bay over the weekend, and the people of Homa Bay are great people. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, let me also assert that the Honorable Mili Mabona Odhiambo, being a law student and having studied environmental law, part of what this treaty seeks to look at are issues touching on environment in the sea. Therefore, the law of the sea, the law of the environment merge and converge. Whether they converge in Homa Bay or in the National Assembly, it's converging and we all move together, happy.
Honorable KJ.
Mr. Speaker, I was of a different opinion, Mr. Speaker. On an afternoon when we have very serious business to transact, I wanted you to find this debate totally out of order, because the display here is a display of something that is well known to this country. The tyranny of brains, the tyranny of Akili from Nyanza. And it has been displayed fully. We do not need to belabor the point. We know we have some fine brains from that area in the House. And we also know that there are and fog bearers who are also...
Order. Honorable KJ. Order. The chair assumes that some of those brilliant state of the current intellectual dissipation can also, basically permeate to the members, the overall House here, so that you, whatever you want to call it, I remember they used to say through osmosis or whatever it is, but order, Honorable KJ. Are you going to get your time to conclude? So this is it's well accepted. We are learning. We are learning a lot from these fine minds from Homa Bay. So proceed, Honorable Mili Odhiambo. I also did public international law. I did law of the sea, but nowhere near where the specialization.
Then we can allow you to stay in our circles.
Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, before I conclude, I just wanted to say that I'm also currently doing my PhD in Daystar University. Excellent. And I am dealing with the issue of development, leadership, and on the issue of leadership and governance. And one of the things that I'm debating about, studying about, is whether there's something unique about Homa Bay. Mr. Speaker, the late General Ogola was He came from Sia, but grew up in Homa Bay. CS Education, the current CS of Education. Same primary school with me, Homa Bay Primary. PS Omolo, Homa Bay. Tomboya, Homa Bay. I can go on and on, but do I say? We are serious. I can see the chairman budget now is trying to purport to have a girlfriend from Homa Bay, especially Homa Bay town. And I know Honorable Kaluma can now be proud as the member of parliament for Homa Bay because we are serious. But that aside, Mr. Speaker, what I was actually saying is that it is true, just as even Honorable Ichung'wah said, because we are dealing with the high seas. But we sometimes forget the inland waters. Yes. The inland waters that has produced these great men and women like myself. And because we are told when you're growing up, you're told if you eat fish, you become completely brilliant. And I would want to encourage the committee, the relevant committee, to look, whether it is through the amendment of the Fisheries Act, which I don't think is very appropriate, but it's towards moving a more bilateral agreement between Uganda and Tanzania. And the agents we met yesterday has already agreed that they'll be willing to work with us because theirs is limited to boundaries. But we want to look at the issue of shared resources. The same that we are having for the high seas, we need to have for inland waters, so that we don't have our fishermen taken to Uganda, forced to eat raw fish with all our intelligence, and also forced to pay fines because they are fighting over the resources in Lake Victoria. Otherwise, with those few remarks, I beg to support.
Yes, the honorable member for Ndiwa, indeed Ndiwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The learned friends have talked about the anatomy and physiology of the sea and the boundaries. But I just want to say that in a global village, some households are bigger than others. And what this treaty is trying to do to us is to bring order to the global village. You can't do business if there is no legal framework that protects the little and guides the greatest. There is also an issue of capacity building here, transfer of knowledge and technologies. I think we will benefit as a country from this. Together we can address challenges. There's a lot of challenges when you come to the sea, especially those who have high technologies, big machines, and scoop everything. If uncontrolled, it has been said here, they will take all our resources and we can't do anything. Sensitivity to environment has been well spoken about. And of course, we have a share on this. And this treaty will bring everybody to order so that we can protect our environment. But who would like to be exploited? And who would like to get into conflicts with big powers? And then lastly, Mr. Speaker, which is very vital in this treaty, is the tapping into funds that can also help us as a small nation. So in all, I support the treaty. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also rise to support the approval for ratification of this agreement on the biological diversity of areas beyond our national jurisdiction. Honorable Speaker, as the mover said, this agreement was adopted in June of 2023 in New York. And so far, Honorable Speaker, from what the mover has said, a total of 100 and almost 123 countries have signed this agreement, and about 26 have ratified this agreement, Honorable Speaker. And we should not be late, Honorable Speaker, because as has been said by the mover, and as was noted by the committee, we, as a country, stand to benefit a lot. As much as, Honorable Speaker, as with the signing of this treaty and its ratification, we also be bound to pay certain fees, especially towards running of the Secretariat, but we also stand to benefit in terms of, Honorable Speaker, the things that we will get as a country, that come to nations that border the seas and among developing countries, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this agreement, as the mover has said, has a compendium of issues that include, as I said when Honorable Millie was speaking, environmental impact assessments. And that's what I was saying, there was also a lot of environmental law in it. It also includes marine genetic resources, including fair and equitable benefit sharing. And Honorable Speaker, as the mover and the chair of the committee had said, this agreement covers the area that is beyond the 200 nautical miles from our coastline between countries that share the seas or the ocean. And there is that area which would be naturally be considered as no man's land. And if there is no treaty or agreement that governs that area that is beyond our national boundaries, Honorable Speaker, or beyond the 200 nautical miles, then that space is bound to be abused by many people. Honorable Speaker, in order to ensure that if there are any benefits, whether it's minerals, whether it's fishing, that is being done along those areas, then the countries that border those areas benefit and share the benefits of the whatever resources, that marine resources that be in that area, equitably and fairly. And that is what this treaty seeks to establish, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, upon ratification again, Honorable Speaker, we may need, or we actually need to align all our laws, Honorable Speaker, our regulations and administrative procedures to be in line with this agreement. And I want that to be a challenge to our committee on blue economy and also our JLAC and JLAC committees, Honorable Speaker, to ensure that upon ratification by Kenya of this agreement, we have aligned all our laws, regulations and other administrative procedures in line with this agreement. And that includes legislation on environmental protection, ocean governance and biodiversity in the sea, Honorable Speaker, because as we said, it is also possible for anyone to argue that beyond the 200 nautical miles, since it's no man's land, people can come from anywhere and come and dump things that will pollute the sea and therefore pollute our environment. And therefore we must also accordingly align our laws to ensure that our laws cover even those areas. Of course, in close concurrence with our neighbors whom we share the seas and other boundaries with, Honorable Speaker. And in those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to support. Honorable Speaker, a lot has been said about this bill. I do not want to say the obvious. I'm sure somebody else will say it, because I know the member for Alego Usonga can see him moving in his seat because he is very eager to move the budget estimates report. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to support.
Yes, what's your point of order? What's your point of order?
One more. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I thought I'm the one with the mic.
You were on a point of order?
Yes.
And this is to conclude the debate. Can I allow the Honorable Russell just to take 1 minute and say something?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'll take less than 2 minutes to contribute to this very important debate. I think this particular agreement is profound. This is about addressing the EEZ that stretches 250 nautical miles outside our territorial waters. The future of resources on Earth will actually be in the seas, or in the high seas for that matter. It is not just about an agreement. I think it is about how we are likely to exploit marine resources, not by using just our resources, but using resources of partners. There'll be exploitation of minerals, such as oils, such as whatever will be found in the deep sea, which will be highly beneficial to Kenya. Honorable Speaker,
This is also about the freedom of the sea, that major world operators of ships and also of major navies are likely to use our EEZ. Then they are likely to cooperate with us to be able to do that. There must also be cooperation in the Indian Ocean Rim, where we occupy a sizable part of the East African or the Horn of Africa coastline. Finally, Honorable Speaker, they say that the next frontier of conflict will be in the sea, because every nation, many having exploited to the full extent what is on land, they'll be moving to the high seas. So for that reason, this particular agreement is very important, and Kenya must really be prepared in terms of resources, in terms of military power, to be able to protect what rightfully belongs to this country. With those remarks, I support. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, what's your point of order, Honorable?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, considering that the blue economy is also in the budget, and I know those who would want to contribute on the same can still contribute on the blue economy, which is still part of the budget, would I be in order to call that the MUFA be asked called to reply, and we'll continue the debate, because the blue economy is there, the sea, and it's part of the budget, so we can proceed with it after the MUFA of the budget and appropriation, my chair.
Honorable members, I now call upon the mover to reply. As many of the appearance say aye. Aye. As many of contrary appearance say nay. The ayes have it.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, allow me to thank all the colleagues who contributed to this motion for the ratification of BBNJ agreement. And Mr. Speaker, I want to take note of what the Honorable Millie said about there is need, as we ratify also treaties, international treaties, there is need to have even our own, say, East Africa treaties on fisheries, so that the shared resource like we have of Lake Victoria, Honorable Speaker, because of what is happening, we have seen many of our fishermen being arrested on the Ugandan side, and there is some issues around Migingo. If we can have even an agreement between Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and all those who are using Lake Victoria waters, I think it is something us as a committee, Honorable Speaker, we are going to take it up to, with the State Department. Mr. Speaker, so I don't want to repeat myself. I reply. Thank you.
Next order. You have to put the question.
Order number 12, motion, consideration of the budget estimates for the financial year 2025-2026, general debate.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopts the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on its consideration of the estimates of revenue and expenditure and the medium term for the financial year 2025-2026 laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 4th June 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 221 of the Constitution, Section 39 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012, and Standing Order 239. 1. Approves the issuance of a sum of 2,538,293,978,440 from the consolidated fund to meet the expenditure during the year ending 30th June 2026 in respect to the votes contained in the first schedule, subject to paragraph 3, Committee of Supply. 2. Makes the policy and financial resolutions contained in the second schedule to the order paper. And 3. Orders that the Speaker do now leave the chair to facilitate the consideration of the state budget estimates with respect to each vote and program
in the Committee of Supply as contemplated under Standing Order 240, consideration of the estimates in the Committee of Supply. Honorable Speaker, I would like to, first of all, as I move, begin by thanking members of Budget and Appropriations Committee for their diligence in processing the estimates that were brought before us. Honorable Speaker, budget making is a sole mandate of this House, and all members of this House participate in budget making through their departmental committees. Honorable Speaker, in the reviewing of these estimates, we listen to departmental committees represented by their chairman. And I also want to thank them, Honorable Speaker, because departmental committees brought to us very, very progressive highlights of the programs that the government is implementing in various departments. Honorable Speaker, in the course of processing the estimates, we were able to listen to proposals from the departmental committees, some proposing changes, some staying the changes. Honorable Speaker, it is not in the DNA of Budget Committee to refuse to adopt changes brought by members of this House through their committees. I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that as we are processing the estimates, there are some changes that the committee did not allow, but 99% of the changes were allowed. Some of the proposals that were not allowed by the committee involve reallocations of funds meant for fertilizer subsidy, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, as one of the cornerstones of this country, Honorable Speaker, agriculture remains one of the anchors of our economy. And even as I will talk later about some of the programs that have been funded, we did not believe that reallocating resources from the fertilizer subsidy was necessary. The other area that my committee did not adopt had to do with the reallocations touching on coffee cherry fund. Honorable Speaker, coffee is becoming one of the most strategic cash crops of our country, leading in foreign exchange, and also incomes to farmers is substantial. As a matter of fact, as I will be discussing some of the strategic allocations, you will notice that in one of the allocations, coffee development is one of the areas that we are putting more resources. Honorable Speaker, as I go to the content of the report, I would like to say that and thank National Treasury. Honorable Speaker, for the first time, we have revenue projections of National Treasury that is less than what has been projected by our own Parliamentary Budget Office. Honorable Speaker, Parliamentary Budget Office, our own, is a premier think tank. Actually, in this region, our Parliamentary Budget Office is leading Parliamentary Budget Office. In fact, in this region, regional parliaments are coming to us for benchmarking within that space. And our Budget Office has been leading in helping the regional parliaments to develop some of their ways of running budgets. And so, Honorable Speaker, I want to thank our Parliamentary Budget Office and National Treasury, because for the first time we are aligning our thinking. The thinking within Parliamentary Budget Office is that higher revenue projections has not been tenable. Even as we talk, Honorable Speaker, we are not being able to meet our revenue projections because we over-project. But for the first time, Honorable Speaker, the revenue projections given to us by Treasury is less than what our own PBU has projected. It means, therefore, Honorable Speaker, that we are making a more realistic budget, because revenue collection projected is what will determine what kind of programs you want to implement. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the CS Treasury, the new CS Treasury, because he's giving us a budget that is more realistic. Also, Honorable Speaker, that we are seeking to live within the confines of our means, that going forward, public debt is not going to be a solution for our problems. In the past, Honorable Speaker, we have been running very huge budgets and not factoring the fact that we have limited revenue sources. We end up running a very huge fiscal deficit. In this budget, Honorable Speaker, the fiscal deficit that we are applying is 4.5% to GDP. Remember, Honorable Speaker, that when we did supplementary 2 here, our fiscal deficit was 5.2. So we have moved downwards by over 0.7 basis points. So, Honorable Speaker, this shows that for the first time, the reality of broad-based government, which is more inclusive, approaching development in a more inclusive way, is becoming a reality. Honorable Speaker, as I move into some of the strategic areas where we have been able to put more resources. Honorable Speaker, as I said earlier, agriculture remains the most important cornerstone for this economy. And in these estimates, Honorable Speaker, we have continued as usual to appropriate resources for fertilizer subsidy. Fertilizer subsidy is the reason, Honorable Speaker, that we have been able to increase food production in the country. As we talk, Honorable Speaker, we have been able to produce more food, and that is the reason why the cost of living has come down and even inflation has been managed. So, Honorable Speaker, this budget appropriates 8 billion shillings for fertilizer subsidy. Honorable Speaker, you have recently seen the reforms that have been initiated in the sugar sector. To support those reforms, Honorable Speaker, this budget allocates 2 billion to support those reforms so that the sugar sector becomes profitable. For a long time, the sugar sector has been a loss-making endeavor where farmers deliver their cane to the millers, and in the end, it is the government that ends up paying those farmers. Honorable Speaker, those reforms that have been initiated are being funded to the tune of 2 billion so that that sector becomes self-reliant. Honorable Speaker, I mentioned about coffee share fund. Coffee has become a strategic cash crop. In fact, Honorable Speaker, when we went round to engage in public participation, in the area of Nyanza, in the area of Rift Valley, in the area of Western, most farmers are abandoning their traditional cash crops and they want to move into coffee sector. As I said, the coffee sector is giving more returns, and also as a foreign exchange earner. Foreign exchange, Honorable Speaker, is going to be very, very important for our economy going forward. And therefore, most farmers are moving into coffee. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, coffee share fund is an investment which this Parliament has done in the past. It's in the wisdom of this Parliament again that we continue to fund coffee share fund, and we have allocated 2 billion shillings towards that. Honorable Speaker, I also mentioned that most farmers in those regions are trying to move away from other cash crops. They are engaging in what the budget report calls crop diversification. So in order to achieve that, Honorable Speaker, we have allocated 2 billion shillings to help those farmers in those regions, farmers who want to move away from their traditional cash crops like maize, they want to go into coffee. We want to give them support so that they can be able to fully engage and support. Honorable Speaker, we need about 2.7 metric tons of coffee for export and for this market. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, we want to urge more farmers to go into coffee farming. Honorable Speaker, livestock insurance is also a very important sector that we believe we need to fund substantially, and in this budget we have allocated 2 billion shillings for livestock insurance. Honorable Speaker, on the area of education, capitation still remains one of the biggest items in this budget. And this budget has allocated 90 billion shillings for school capitation, for JSS, for secondary education, and for primary education. Honorable Speaker, you heard about the uproar that Treasury did not allocate resources for examination. Honorable Speaker, in this budget, you have allocated 5.9 billion for examinations. Honorable Speaker, examination is a process, and it starts with procuring of exam materials, it goes into logistics later on, and lastly into payment of examiners. Honorable Speaker, the total vote for all that program is 12 billion. But for the start, Honorable Speaker, we have allocated 5.9 billion so that this process goes on. In the course of time, this Parliament will be able to appropriate the other resources to support it fully. Honorable Speaker, we have resources for recruitment of 20,000 more JSS interns in this budget at 7.5 billion Kenya shillings. Honorable Speaker, in the area of health, Honorable Speaker, we have appropriated resources for procurement of vaccines. Honorable Speaker, vaccines, as you know, is very, very important, that this country must be self-reliant in the area of vaccines. We have appropriated 4.6 billion for that. Honorable Speaker, we are building a cancer center at Kisii Level 5 Referral Hospital that is going to cost 1 billion from this budget. Honorable Speaker, we have UHC health workers that have been demonstrating across the country for the last, I think, 1 year. Honorable Speaker, it is the determination of this House that those workers be now converted into permanent and pensionable terms. And in this budget, we have allocated 6.1 billion towards that. Honorable Speaker, this will be done only after thorough audit of the number of workers that exist. Because, Honorable Speaker, when these workers were hired, the number was 8,500. We have since established, Honorable Speaker, that some of these workers left the service, others were Some counties hired them into permanent operational terms, and the numbers have come down substantially. So, Honorable Speaker, the first thing that we have said here is that the Ministry of Health must first of all engage in thorough audit, so that they'll be able to tell us how many of these workers are in their service before their contracts is turned into permanent and pensionable terms. Honorable Speaker, for a long time, the country is benefiting from rain-fed agriculture. And this has done so well, especially in the recent past, when we have been favored by too much rainfall. But, Honorable Speaker, this is not really reliable all the time. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, we have allocated 15 billion shillings to support irrigation programs across the country. We would like various parts of the country to engage in small-time irrigation projects that can continue to help the economy, even if we are suffering from lack of rainfall. Honorable Speaker, in the area of industry, the county aggregation and industrial parks, which is a partnership between national government and counties, is a critical program that is intended to help regions harness and develop products that they produce. So, Honorable Speaker, in this budget, we have continued to allocate more resources towards this program, 4.6 billion that is allocated towards that, so that those programs in the counties, they can be concluded so that our people can be able to benefit from those programs. Honorable Speaker, there are so many Kenyans that are still landless, that do not have, government cannot be able to accommodate, give them land where they can be able to act their living. In this budget, we have allocated about 4 billion towards resettlement of landless Kenyans. Honorable Speaker, in the area of blue economy, the 6 counties in the coast and the 4 counties along the Lake Victoria have also benefited. An allocation of 5 billion shillings to help those fisher folks around the areas at Lake Victoria, that is Siaya County, Homa Bay County, Kisumu County, Migori County, and the other 6 counties in Coast, Kwale, Kilifi, yes, Busia also. Thank you. Thank you, Mheshimiwa. Busia. So this allocation of 5 billion shillings is going to support the blue economy projects along Lake Victoria, and also along the Indian Ocean. Honorable Speaker, we have allocated resources for the transformative affordable housing program, which, as you know, Honorable Speaker, is intended to ensure that poor Kenyans afford decent housing. This is one of the programs, one of the major programs of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. And this program is successful, Honorable Speaker. If you saw last week when the President was in Mukuru launching the program, it was beautiful. We believe that this program needs to continue, and this House has allocated, we have allocated about 95 billion towards that. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, I would like to say, Honorable Speaker, that we have a broad-based government that is inclusive. And, Honorable Speaker, if you go through the budget estimates, you will see that we have distributed programs across the country. There is no part of the country that has been left behind. Even when you look at the infrastructure from Northeastern, from Garissa, from Mandera, we have at least a program in those areas. And this is the promise that the President gave. And we, as proponents of broad-based government, we want to say that we're living to that promise. And this budget is the first, the first of many that is going to restore hope to Kenyans and ensure that Kenyans feel that they are part and parcel of this country. Honorable Speaker, I want to urge members of this House to study the report and support it, because the report is huge. It has many other programs which I'm not able to highlight here in this opportunity. Let members support this budget proposal, which is before us, so that in the end, we will be able to have a more progressive country. Honorable Speaker, I thank you.
Seconded by who? Seconded by who?
Honorable Speaker, I would like to ask the Majority Leader to second.
Proceed, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And allow me, Honorable Speaker, to first thank the Chair, our new Chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, and all the members of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, together with our chairs of the departmental committees and the entire membership of the departmental committees. and especially the very diligent ones like Honorable Nyikar, who is still here, to ensure that whatever he took before the Budget and Appropriations Committee has been considered. Honorable Speaker, it is worth noting, I can hear others protesting like the Honorable KJ, in charge of the CII committee, to ensure that the digital economy is also well catered for. But Honorable Speaker, I was congratulating and thanking these members because when we usually break for the long recess, these members that sit in the departmental committees and those who sit in the Budget and Appropriations Committee, this long May recess usually have no recess. And they put in a lot of their time away from their families, their constituents, to sit and deliberate on these budget estimates. Honorable Speaker, as the Chair has ably put it, these budget estimates, as they came to us, Honorable Speaker, come in the backdrop of a time that is both promising and one that where we are coming from a very difficult period economically. And that, Honorable Speaker, you can see from the revenue projections from what we had last year, and with the challenges that we've had this last financial year that is now ending this June. Honorable Speaker, you remember this is a year that we had a very false start at the beginning of the year with the collapse of the finance bill. And eventually when we rescued the revenue-raising measures that were in the finance bill of 2024, at the end of December, at the beginning of December last year, we have only had about 5 months to be able to realize the revenue projections that had been envisaged as we prepared the budget estimates for the last budget of the 2024-2025 financial year. Honorable Speaker, we are fortunate that this year, Honorable Speaker, we are starting off at a time when our economy is not doing very badly as it were before, and there are less disruptions, Honorable Speaker, to our economy. The rains have done us a little bit of justice, Honorable Speaker, and therefore also food production in the backdrop of the subsidized fertilizer program, which has been provided for adequate resources in these budget estimates, have augmented our productivity in terms of food production. And when a nation is food secure, then the economy is naturally bound to do better, because we have always prided ourselves as being an agro-based economy. And that means, Honorable Speaker, that when agriculture is doing well, the entire economy naturally will do well. And that has been reflected, Honorable Speaker, with the improving prices of our food items, rather the food items whose prices have been going down for consumers, and also better returns for farmers, be it farmers in the dairy sector who are now, through KCC, enjoying at least a minimum of 50 shillings per litre of their milk delivered to KCC. Not to mention also, Honorable Speaker, farmers in Embu who are happy. And I can see Honorable Mukunji smiling because he knows farmers in Manyatta now are happy lots, benefiting from very good coffee prices, the best in the last 10 years, Honorable Speaker. And this has been as a result of progressive and very well-focused economic policies that this government or this administration chose to embark on in the year 2022, away from the populist things that people say out there in funerals and in weddings and other political rallies, Honorable Speaker. These policies that have been implemented under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda are bearing fruit and bearing good fruit for the people of Kenya. Some, of course, Honorable Speaker, as we said earlier, may not have been very popular with the people, but it is not always that true that what is popular is correct and what is right is popular. And I am glad that this administration chose to do that which is right, not necessarily popular. But the popularity of those policies now can be seen, Honorable Speaker, including the huge investment that has been made in the housing sector, Honorable Speaker, with the implementation of the housing agenda in this country. Many people doubted whether this would be a reality, but with the continuous handover of completed units, the 1,200 units in Mukuru, Honorable Speaker, caused a huge frenzy in the country, because many people were made to believe by naysayers that the housing agenda would never be, and you never see those houses. And people believed that those houses were being built for a select few, and probably expected that his members of parliament, governors, ministers will be owners of those houses. Today we have seen Mama Samakis in Homa Bay, Mama Mbogas in Kisumu, border riders and hawkers in Nairobi, in Mukuru, being owners, proud home owners, Honorable Speaker. And there is no greater dignity that we can give to our people other than giving them the opportunity to become home owners and become economically stable, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this budget estimates, Honorable Speaker, come with revenue projections, including A&A or appropriations in aid that are to the tune of 3.3 trillion shillings. And to be precise, 3.316.9 billion or 3.3 trillion, Honorable Speaker. And that constitutes about 17.2% of our GDP. On the other side, Honorable Speaker, we have expenditure estimates of 4.239.9 trillion or 4,239.9 billion. That's 4.2 trillion. That tells you, Honorable Speaker, ahead of anything else, you're already in a deficit of close to 876 billion. And that constitutes, again, a fiscal deficit of about 4.5% of our GDP in the next financial year. Honorable Speaker, I'm mentioning these figures because it's important, even as we embark on what the Speaker this afternoon has read out to us in his communication, on a mediation process with our colleagues in the Senate on the division of revenue, that we mediate. And I want to take this opportunity to implore on the governors, our senators, that even as we go into that mediation process, we bear in mind the kind of figures we are talking about. Because it's very easy, Honorable Speaker, to throw around figures of 480, 500 billion and say this is what should go to the counties. And I've just said this afternoon, Honorable Speaker, in an interview with one of our media stations, that we all support devolution. And we support devolution and would all want to even see figures to the tune of 600-700 billion at one point in time going to our devolved units in the counties. Even as we call for accountability on how that money is utilized in our counties. Because again, a lot of this money is being looted in the counties, Honorable Speaker. And we must also, as we devolve money, ask our county governors to be accountable of the monies that goes to them in the counties. Because it is one thing to demand for money, but it's a totally different subject to be accountable of that money, Honorable Speaker. There are counties in this country, Honorable Speaker, that year in, year out, for the last 10 years, Honorable Speaker, of devolution, 10 years plus, have benefited from huge amounts, hundreds of billions, but the people still languish in poverty with no health cover in their counties, Honorable Speaker, with no water, with no access through roads, Honorable Speaker, yet they have churned out governors year in, year out, and governors growing richer by the day. And you have seen even those who are being arrested protesting and burning cars of EACC because they do not want to be held to account. But we must tell EACC, DCI, and all other agencies, people must be held to account. If members of parliament are held to account over NGCDF that they do not implement, but if there is an issue with your NGCDF, the headlines, the banners will be so-and-so member of parliament, so much money has been lost in your constituency because you are the member of parliament, yet you do not in any way implement the programs under NGCDF. What of county governors, Honorable Speaker, who are executive members of government and actually implement projects in those counties, Honorable Speaker, even with the rampant looting that is there? Honorable Speaker was saying that for us to be aware that with a budget deficit of 876, that's close to 900 billion shillings. It's only 23.9 billion short of 900 billion shillings. 4.5% of our gross domestic product. Then it means, Honorable Speaker, we must be careful what we commit to even now as we go into mediation. Because should we say that we will need to raise another 60 billion shillings to be able to raise 465 billion for our county governments, Honorable Speaker, it means that 60 billion has to go to increase this budget deficit from 876 to now 940 billion. That, Honorable Speaker, will mean that you have to borrow more. That borrowing comes to at a cost, not just to government, but also to the investing community or our business community, our traders who have to borrow and now compete with government, with our commercial banks, because government will go to borrow from the commercial banks. We will also, as business people, go to borrow from those banks. And therefore, it becomes counterproductive. And that is why, if we have to manage our public debt, Honorable Speaker, we must be able to rationalize both our expenditure, even as we enhance our revenue-raising measures, Honorable Speaker. And I know we'll be speaking to our revenue-raising measures when we come to the discussion on our finance bill later this month, Honorable Speaker, in the course of this session. But, Honorable Speaker, let me also mention, because I've mentioned the figures that we have projected for, the overall figures in terms of our revenue projections and expenditure. For our county governments, Honorable Speaker, these revenue estimates, estimates have a figure which we have put in the Division of Revenue Bill that we have sent to the Senate, and they amended to 465, and we put a figure of 405.1 billion. Honorable Speaker, that is not all the money that we are sending to our counties. Because there is usually this misconception that it is only the money that goes through the shareable formula, the vertical division of revenue, through the division of revenue, that goes to our counties. What we are sending to our counties is this 405, plus the additional allocations, another close to 70 billion shillings. In actual sense, it's about 69.8 billion. So if you aggregate the two figures, 405.1 and 69.8 billion, you are talking about almost 474 billion going to our counties. Therefore, even as we talk about figures, 465 billion, let us also now from here speak about the 474 billion that is going to our county governments, including the shareable revenue through the division of revenue and the additional county allocations and grants of 69.8 billion. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, I'm saying that so that even as we mediate, Honorable Speaker, we do this with some sense of balance and rationalization so that we do not sink our country into further debt. Honorable Speaker, again, in support of our judiciary, the Budget and Appropriations Committee has been very magnanimous in supporting other arms of government, because so much money is going to the executive, a lot of money is also going to the judiciary and also to Parliament. And the Budget and Appropriations Committee has been very rational in ensuring that the judiciary is also well-resourced to be able to actualize on delivery of justice to Kenyans, and they are allocating them about 27 billion shillings, part of which about 0.8 goes to the Judicial Service Commission, and 23.8 billion for recurrent, and another 2 billion shillings for development, to ensure that all the courts that are stalled around the country are also being, they're able to complete those courts, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, since I mentioned Honorable Nyikala was among the very diligent members who are in this House as the chair of the Health Committee, Professor Nyikala will tell you that part of the challenges that have bedeviled the Social Health Authority and implementation of Taifa Care has been inadequate resources going to the Primary Health Care Fund. Honorable Speaker, I am happy that in these estimates, I can now see that they include 13 billion shillings that are going to the Primary Health Care Fund, another 10 billion shillings going to the Emergency, Chronic and Critical Illnesses Fund, another 23 billion that goes to HIV, TB, and malaria-related global funds, and another 16.6 billion for the Universal Health Coverage Coordination, and another 10 billion shillings towards the support for national immunization efforts. I mention these figures, Honorable Speaker, because you know what has happened in the United States of America and the global funds that are coming from USAID, and we have made sure that we are now providing and resourcing our health ministry adequately to ensure that the programs under HIV, tuberculosis, malaria, and the coordination of the national immunization efforts do not stall because we are not getting money from our donor community, and that is why those amounts have been put there to ensure that that works. Honorable Speaker, in closing, Honorable Speaker, SHA, or the Universal Health Coverage under Taifa Care, is working. And it is working well for many, many Kenyans. I am so happy that today Kenyans do not need to be told by politicians whether SHA is working. They are testifying in their backgrounds, in their villages, how their neighbor, how their relatives have had their bills catered for. I want to tell Kenyans now, with another 13 billion shillings going to the primary healthcare fund, all they need to do is to walk into your primary healthcare facility. So long as your governor has enlisted that facility under SHA.
Just give him.
Honorable Speaker was saying, any governor who has enlisted at primary healthcare facility, be it a level 1, level 2, level 3 hospital, under the universal health coverage or the social health authority, any Kenyan within that locality can now walk into that dispensary, get treated, and go home without paying a single shilling or a coin, so long as your governor has enlisted. So Kenyans must ensure that governors have enlisted all their primary healthcare facilities. They are level 1, level 2, level 3 facilities, since this 13 billion is there up for grabs to treat you for free. For free, Mr. Speaker. Let me insist, for free in any healthcare facility. If you get an accident, Honorable Speaker, you have another 10 billion shillings going to the emergency, chronic and critical illnesses fund to ensure that if I get an accident, I am enlisted under SHA, I will now get treated for an emergency, a chronic illness, for free again in a dispensary or health center level 4 that is enlisted under the SHA platform, Honorable Speaker. And with that, I beg to support and urge members to support these budget estimates, even as we look forward to considering the revenue estimates when the finance bill eventually is tabled before us by the Finance Committee. And congratulations to our Budget and Appropriations Committee for the good work and the huge effort that they put in ensuring that they have rationalized our expenditures with our revenue estimates to give us a product that will be good for our economy, even as we continue to grow our economy from the bottom up through the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. I beg to second.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Budget and Appropriation Committee on its consideration of the estimates of revenue and expenditure and the medium term for the financial year 2025-2026, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, the 4th of June 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 221 of the Constitution, Section 39 of the Public Finance Management Act of 2012, and Standing Order Number 239. Roman 1 approves the issuance of a sum of Kenya shillings 2,538,293,978,440 from the Consolidated Fund to meet the expenditure during the year ending 30th June 2026 in respect of the votes contained in the first schedule, subject to paragraph 3rd Roman, Committee of Supply. 2nd Roman makes the policy and financial resolutions contained in the second schedule to the order paper, and 3rd Roman orders that the Speaker do now leave the chair to facilitate the consideration of the said budget estimates with respect to each vote and program in the Committee of Supply as contemplated under Standing Order Number 240, consideration of estimates in the Committee of Supply. The Honorable Aseka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me join my colleagues and my chair in supporting this budget estimate for 2025-2026 financial year. Speaker, this budget provides for about 4.3 trillion, with 405 billion being allocated to our counties, 1.3 being allocated to CFS, and about 10 billion being allocated to the Equalization Fund. So, Speaker, if you look at this budget, key programs that supports the development of this country have been captured. The budget provides funds for the subsidized fertilizer, which will go a long way in addressing food insecurity. This budget provides revenues or funds for the recruitment of about 20,000 intern teachers who will assist us in our GSS centers. Mr. Speaker, this budget provides funds approximately to about 6 billion that will help into employing our universal healthcare nurses on permanent and pensionable basis. Mr. Speaker, as we look at this budget, we must also ask ourselves some of the serious questions on the implementation of budget. Mr. Speaker, it's not about figures. Budget and a good budget must be implementable. It's not just passing a budget that cannot be implemented. With a deficit of 786 billion, we need to ask ourselves how we are going to raise these funds and ensure that this budget is implemented. On the county allocation of about 4 or 5 billion, Honorable Speaker, it is important to note that, as the leader of majority has said, that accountability is key into this. So, Speaker, I come from a county in Kakamega, where, Mr. Speaker, I had lived the last 3 years. I haven't seen any project that has been done by the county government, even a one-door toilet that has been completed in my county. We must also call our governors to order and tell them to stop stealing, to stop taking Kenyans for a ride, and to stop the interest they have and the appetite of looting the government resources. Honorable Speaker, as I also support, I want to call upon Treasury to ensure that it provides resources and funds for the payment of the pending bills. It's very discouraging that many of our suppliers and contractors are languishing in the streets because of non-payment of pending bills. And you see, Mr. Speaker, if these bills are not paid, they hinder the growth of the economy of this country. I want to urge all members to support this, and we must ensure that we have a very robust implementation matrix to ensure that this budget is implemented to the latter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Bukose.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, on the onset, I want to support these estimates for the 2025-2026 budget estimates. I'm a member of the Budget and Appropriation Committee. I'm the Vice Chair. And I want to thank my chair and my colleagues from the Budget and Appropriation for the time and effort which they put into analyzing this budget and listening to the various chairs of the committees. And I can see some of the chairs here, the Honorable Murugaro, the Honorable Powen, the Honorable Tongoyo, the Honorable KJ of ICT, and Honorable Speaker, I think this, and Honorable Nyikal, my chair for the Health Committee. Honorable Speaker, this has been a very involving budget where committees, departmental chairs have engaged their committees, appeared before the Budget and Appropriation after listening to the ministries and sagas. And I think, having gone through this budget, Honorable Speaker, this budget, what would ask the Treasury, who appeared before the Budget and Appropriation Committee, is that they make sure they release money in time, because that has been the biggest problem. They must release money in time so that these projects can be implemented. This budget is very informative. It is very, it's affecting all the parts of this country. I would say it applies equity in it. Many of the farmers who are involved in coffee, as my chair put it, there is 2 billion for the coffee cherry fund. And maybe some of the farmers might not understand this, and they end up going to the banks to borrow money, which has very high interest rates. And that makes the farming activity a little bit very expensive. They should apply for this cherry fund, which has low interest rates. In addition to that, we've given fertilizer subsidy of 8 billion. But not just that, there is also subsidy to the Kenya seed for the provision of seed maize and other seeds. There is also money for mopping up of the legumes within the region. And this through KNDC, and maybe KNDC can also involve the cereals, so that you have mopping of the legumes. You also have 2 billion for the sugar sector to ensure that the reforms take place. And as you heard His Excellency the President when he was in Homa Bay, he said we've not sold out these sugar companies. What we've done is we've leased it out. And this leasing out is to make sure that these sugar companies become productive. They turn around the sugar sector. Because for many years, our farmers, especially in the Nyanza, in Western and the coastal region, who have engaged in sugar farming, they've not been doing well due to a lot of mismanagement, corruption, and that has ended up discouraging farmers. But we hope that now, with this 2 billion and also the reforms within the sugar sector, that things will move in the right direction. Honorable Speaker has put it very clearly. We are working in a limited financial constraints. And therefore, in the revenue-raising measures, many people have said we should not borrow more. We should not continue incurring more debts. And therefore, I want to urge our county governments, especially through the Senate, that the 4 or 5.1 billion that is being given to the counties, plus the additional 69 billion, which is the conditional additional allocation to the counties, if that money is utilized well, we should be able to see development. In the recent conditional additional allocation to the counties that was done, my county of Trans Nzoia got 96 million for doing the roads. And I hope that the county government will utilize that money in a proper way to make sure that towns like Endebess and Kitale Town and Kiminini Town are properly done roads within that area. Honorable Speaker, as put it by many of my colleagues, when you move into the counties or constituencies, it is easier for you to see a project that has been done by CDF. But it is very difficult to see a project that has been done by the counties. In this budget, the CDF money has been enhanced to 58 billion, and we hope that the money for CDF for this financial year will be released before the end of the financial year so that members can be able to do their projects. We also hope that money for the next financial year will be released in timely so that the counties, the constituencies, can be able to also do their projects. Honorable Speaker, agriculture is the backbone of this country. With the 8 billion subsidy for fertilizer and the 2 billion for Kenya seed to subsidize on seed maize, we hope that our production of food will be able to increase. And this ensures that Kenya is able to feed its own citizens. It's food secure. And that is what we've achieved since this government came in place. We've had good rainfalls, we've had good production, and I think now we don't see anybody carrying sufuria in the head to say bei ya ugali iende chini. And I think that is good. My friend Honorable Oundo is happy that the price of ugali has gone down. And recently I think the government also subsidized on unga, and now people are happy. So we shall keep it that way, that we, the farmers, will continue producing more of the maize, more of the wheat, more of the coffee, more of the tea, so that we can have enough for our own food and even have enough to export. Honorable Speaker, In this budget, we've provided 2 billion for the recruitment of KDF. We've also provided money for the recruitment of our 10,000 police officers. And this will go a long way in enhancing security within our country. KDF has not been able to recruit for the last 2 or 3 years. And therefore, we need to beef up our security. We're facing new threats within in security areas. Many of our neighbors are unstable, and therefore we must be able to equip our armed forces to make sure that our country is well protected. And in operations, we've been able to provide 6 billion. So, Honorable Speaker, I think this is a very progressive budget. It will take us to the next level, and therefore, with those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I want to support.
The Honorable Beatrice Alachi, followed by the Honorable Lesuda, and then Makali, in that order. Then we come back to the next round.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also rise to first thank the committee and to thank the Chair and the CS of Treasury. Indeed, for bringing in a budget that we can interrogate, but also appreciate on how they have tried to bring an inclusive budget that takes care of the whole country. And Mr. Speaker, mine will be very brief. That number one, I want to appreciate the docket that I always say that carries Kenya, the education docket. And first, to appreciate that as much as you've given them 168.2 billion for transformative education initiatives, the most important thing we are looking at is first, you've returned the money for examinations, and so at least Kenyans will appreciate that the 5.9 billion has come back for examination. You remember it had brought in a lot of heated debate, but we thank for that. We are also appreciating that as much as we're giving money, the 17.2 billion to support university funding model, and to ensure that we also have help that will enable students from all backgrounds to be able also to get money to pursue their tertiary education. But more importantly, one thing the Ministry of Education should do to this country is to give every child, Mr. Speaker, a NEMIS number. The day we will have a NEMIS number for our children is the day we will have the correct capitation and the correct budget for the Ministry of Education. We shall be able to know how much do we really spend. Because even in my own constituencies, I am still pushing, Mr. Speaker, just to get resources for our children, because those who don't have birth certificates will never get these resources, will never get capitation. That is why they are saying in a school is getting 400 shillings. The problem is not our house here. The problem is the ministry that has not brought NEMIS numbers for our children. Mr. Speaker, the other thing I would wish to now appreciate is that now we shall move on with the Nyota program. And this program, you remember, we were unable to implement because we didn't have money that we were supposed to support. And you remember, the World Bank wanted us to have a program that you equalize. You have the ministry, the government supporting in and World Bank supporting in. And now there are 100 youths that will be in our constituencies are able to start. Those who believe in small businesses will be able to tap and at least do small businesses. With 50,000, you can start something, Mr. Speaker. The other thing is the UHC program. We appreciate. I know many of them were very worried. They were sending messages, please ensure. And now we have them in the budget. Their monies are there to ensure they are permanent and pensionable. Funding of Linda Mama, which is very critical in the health docket, is also there, Mr. Speaker. And we want to thank the committee of even going beyond that and looking at gender-based violence, and now saying that the government must fund and ensure even the technical teams that are working on gender-based violence are funded. And that is one thing we want to really appreciate, even as we move on. Mr. Speaker, the other thing now that is very worrying, and this is what I want to plead with the governors, even as we look at the issue of mediation, that why can't we agree as both houses that the little monies we can get, we pay pending bills? Because these Kenyans who supplied either at the county level, at the national level, they supplied, you have used their products. Mr. Speaker, they have gone down, they have been auctioned by banks. The best thing we can do in this budget is to try and ensure, instead of talking about 480, 460, going to the county, that we have ensured we take off some money to pay our fellow Kenyans who have supplied and every day, in, out, they work in offices because of their pending bills. I think that is the most sad part of the whole process. So, Mr. Speaker, even as we look at everything that we have done, if we don't come up with a solution of these pending bills, Mr. Speaker, it will be very sad to every Kenyan who tries to work for government, who knows very well that there was need to supply this item. They did supply, and now can't be paid. And then now we reach at a point, we start saying, Mr. Speaker, oh, we must put a committee to look whether this was true, this was right. Why are we looking at that? It means we are all with a problem, Mr. Speaker. That is why we come up with such ways of now measuring and saying, this is how I have to pay. Somebody who supplied you, somebody you know very well, did his work. So, Mr. Speaker, even as I finalize, I just want to go and now look at the Department of Defense. And Mr. Speaker, in the Department of Defense, this is what the committee observed, that during the periods of 1992, 1997, 1998, 2000, the Ministry of Defense did not conduct any recruitment resulting in significant deficiencies in the posture of the Kenya Defense Forces. And so they are saying to remedy this situation, it is important, and they are requesting for 2 billion shillings to support recruitment efforts this fiscal year, which I support. And the reasons are, it is true. And we have gone slowly by slowly. One of the things we are not doing fair to our disciplinary forces is that even the things they used to benefit, we used to exempt them because of the work they go through, Mr. Speaker. We used to ensure they are able, we provide for them, because this was a service you have gone out there to protect your country, Mr. Speaker. And even today, for those who their loved ones have fallen, you will find now their wives and children suffering because we have never put in a way of protecting. And so it is important for us, even those veterans, they have done their duties for us. I think it is important for government to look at and ensure it is, yes, not misused, because I know maybe it was removed. Most of these privileges are being removed because we ourselves again go and end up misusing. But for those who are in the camps, for those who we know are there, they are in Somalia, they are where, they need us to come up with a favorable way of ensuring they are also protected. Today I even see even our own police, Mr. Speaker. You find even the uniform is gone. The shoe is gone. Honestly. And you are expecting him or her to stand and do duty for you. I think it's very unfortunate. They are the first we need to protect because we took them to that duty and they have come out, they are doing it. So for us even to look at all this, Mr. Speaker, it is time we also need to look at just the dignity Even as we look for their housing, and I want to appreciate Central Bank and all those who are doing institutional affordable housing for those who are working for them, we must remember they are the brand of the country, the image of our country. They have to have a uniform that dignifies them. Mr. Speaker, the institutions that deal with corruption, they were there to help us. And so EACC was not just there to take you to court. It was there to help you, Mr. Speaker, that after they have found that you have mismanaged, they will come into the institution and assist this institution so that next time there's no mismanagement of resources. The Auditor General, Mr. Speaker, it is there to audit, yes, but it's also there to help that institution so that in the next audit, you are not supposed to find the same mistake that was audited, the same mistake. Then what was the purpose of the auditing? It was to clean. We brought in these institutions to help us so that in our mismanagements, we are able to manage. So I'm pleading to those institutions also. It's not just about bringing in a bad report. It is about saying we audited County X, Constituency X, Sector X, last year, but this year we have a recognition to say that this institution has improved in the way they are doing their things. That way then, there is a purpose of us spending all these public resources, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, with those remarks, I beg to support.
Honorable Lesuda. Oh, you take precedent of her. Is that it? Okay. Okay.
We stop. Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. I discussed with my sister, Honorable Resuta, and she has agreed that I take the
What's your point of order, Honorable?
So, Honorable Speaker,
to say.
Mr. Speaker, I did not mean to interrupt the Honorable Makale Molu, but just to request your indulgence because budget is a very important. It's a very important affair. If it is within to request that if members can take only 5 minutes to contribute, so that today and tomorrow most of the members can contribute.
Indeed.
Yes. 5.
The rules. Order, Honorable Watch. The chair has heard. If it's in your wisdom, to take as little time as possible so that you can have many people will partake in this. Order, Honorable Lesuda. You have your time, and the time is spelled out. So if you want to take it, the chair has no authority or power to limit you. This should have been done at the beginning of the debate. But now that now that your own colleagues are telling you take less time so that we can all. Okay, let's observe that, gentlewoman, gentleman.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Mutuse, you've not been a first timer. We understand these things are done at the start of the motion. But I just want to say that I'll try to be brief so that we save time. So this will depend on individual members. But I'll be brief, Honorable Speaker, and this is what I want to say, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I think I really want to appreciate the departmental committees for their presentations and the budget committee for doing this good work. It wasn't easy to do this budget because of the very restrictive fiscal space. And on the basis of that, Honorable Speaker, we're ready to see what really can be prioritized in this budget. And Honorable Speaker, as I debate this budget, I just want to focus on what must be done for this budget to make sense to Kenyans. And unless this is done, Honorable Speaker, then this budget is likely to have minimal impact to the lives of Kenyans. The first thing that must be done, Honorable Speaker, is that exchequer releases must be done in time. So long as we have a budget which is not supported by exchequer releases, Honorable Speaker, it will be a waste of time. Over time, we have been implementing budget very low percentages because of challenging environment in terms of exchequer release. The second thing which must be done, Honorable Speaker, and this must be done for this budget to make sense. It is, Honorable Speaker, that this House, where I sit, and we all sit, we must ensure that recommendations from the Office of the Auditor General are implemented, Honorable Speaker. Through the Public Accounts Committee, we have so many recommendations which have been adopted by this House, but they are never implemented, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, accounting officers are taking this House for a ride, because so long as you don't enforce those recommendations, they continue doing the fun things they do every day. Third thing, Honorable Speaker, that must be implemented or enforced is the issue of public debt, Honorable Speaker. During these discussions of the budget this year, Honorable Speaker, it was reported that this country has paid for the last 3 years 6.7 billion in terms of commitment fee, Honorable Speaker. Commitment fee is fees which is paid by the country for undrawn loans. We have signed for loans, we are not drawing the loans. So we have spent 6.7 billion, Honorable Speaker. You can imagine what 6.7 billion can do, Honorable Speaker. For the exams, which were not factored in, we only provided 5.9 billion, and now that matter is settled. We still have changed if you are to consider the 6.7 billion. The other thing, Honorable Speaker, that must be done if this budget has to make sense to Kenyans. Honorable Speaker, this budget committee has provided 4 billion for land compensation. But Honorable Speaker, I want to tell you, Kenyans out there have donated their land for public goods and services. And so many of them have not been compensated. Honorable Speaker, if these Kenyans have to see this budget making sense to them, we must ensure that as we move to the future, we provide enough resources so that we compensate people for their land. Third thing which must be done, Honorable Speaker, and I want to agree totally with what Honorable Eracha said, is the issue of corruption in this country. Honorable Speaker, as we are discussing this budget, the committee, I think on the committee takes care on small-scale enterprises, reported that the accounting officer in charge of the Astral Fund reported they could not recover 5 billion, the money which has been dispersed. And Honorable Speaker, we are saying, how do you dare add resources to a department or MDA where resources have not been accounted for? So if this budget has to make sense, Honorable Speaker, we must make sure that issue of misappropriation must be stopped, Honorable Speaker. The other thing which must be done, Honorable Speaker, if this budget has to make sense, is the issue of equalization fund, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, equalization fund since the Constitution of 2010 has been budgeted for year in, year out. But these resources are never released to the implementing departments in the rural setting. So the whole essence of equalization fund, Honorable Speaker, is dying because we are not releasing the funds as expected. Third thing, Honorable Speaker, which must be done for this budget to make sense is the issue of public participation. Honorable Speaker, these honorable members of this committee have gone out to Kenyans in the counties and have gotten projects from the counties saying, County A, B, C, this is what we would want to see being done this financial year. In the immediate last financial year, Honorable Speaker, the year actually we are implementing now, Honorable Speaker, the money for public participation was removed in a supplementary budget. Honorable Speaker, this budget cannot make sense if we continue entertaining situations where public participation money is removed from the budget, either through supplementary budget. So we are saying public participation money, because it is money being proposed by Kenyans out there, must be respected, and the Treasury has no authority to touch that money, Honorable Speaker. The other thing, Honorable Speaker, for this budget to make sense, what that must be done, is the issue of the pending bills. Honorable Speaker, I think Elacha said it. Unless we clear the pending debts, pending bills, Honorable Speaker, we'll continue lamenting as a country. And Honorable Speaker, these pending bills are held by Kenyans. Kenyans who have provided goods, Kenyans who have provided services to this country or to the government. It is time, Honorable Speaker, we cleared these pending bills. And then, Honorable Speaker, there is the issue of the verification committees, which to me I think is a deliberate move to delay clearing of pending bills. These verification committees, Honorable Speaker, must move with speed to make sure that then we clear these pending bills. The last item, before I sit down, Honorable Speaker, is the issue of privatization, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I still think from where I sit that when you look at the projects and programs which have gone to this government, these projects, this budget, Honorable Speaker, I think there is still room for improvement. Some of the programs and projects we are getting to this project, to this budget, Honorable Speaker, we might do better if we were to take slightly more time so that in terms of prioritization, we get it right, Honorable Speaker, because I think for me, we are not getting it 100%. There is still a room of about 30%. And if we improve that 30%, Honorable Speaker, we can easily, Honorable Speaker, do with minimum borrowing. I remember the majority leader did say that we are borrowing about 878 billion, which is 4.5% of the GDP. Honorable Speaker, if we got right in prioritization, we could easily, Honorable Speaker, reduce this deficit to about 3%, and the less we borrow, Honorable Speaker, the better for this country, because borrowing has squeezed our fiscal space to a level that we have no space to do any development. Last item, Honorable Speaker, the Outer General has reported that a third of the budget, which is about $1 trillion, Honorable Speaker, cannot be accounted for. We are borrowing 900 billion. $1 trillion cannot be accounted for. Speaker, you just need to do that mathematics. If you make the wastage zero, you'll be remaining with about 100 billion without borrowing. I submit, Honorable Speaker, and thank you for the time you've given me. Thank you so much. I support.
Madam Lesuda, and then followed by Honorable Muchira, and then Bowen, and then Tongoi. Yeah, watch, I'll be certainly. Okay, proceed, Lesuda. If you take minimal time, then everybody will have a chance.
Thank you, Speaker. I will do my best to take the shortest time possible and not repeat what my colleagues have said. Thank you for this opportunity. And first and foremost, I would like to congratulate, because I sit in the Budget and Appropriations Committee, Chairman Honorable Atandi, who was the chair during this session, and also to congratulate the former chairperson of Budget and Appropriation Committee, Honorable Ndindi. He also chaired during a very difficult time when we had that, as a country, we inherited empty coffers, and also we had the issue of the collapsed finance bill. We had him as the chair, and I want to congratulate him and to thank him for the time that he was chairman, and Honorable Atandi for his good stewardship during this budget process. Mr. Speaker, I want to speak on a number of issues, and one of them is that in this budget, there are a number of fears that Kenyans had. And one of them was the issue of examinations. Actually, in one of the places that we were at, when I was walking out, I had one Kenyan asking me, are you going to support examination to be supported during this budget, or do I move my child? But Mr. Speaker, we assured that Kenyan that there will be money to support examinations during this year, Mr. Speaker. And this I would like to speak to the policy makers, that when you change policies, you have to do it thoughtfully, and it doesn't have to take this house to come and reinstate. It can't be when Kenyans are making noise about the examination money is when you're saying, oh, the private schools, oh, I don't know what. Just do the policy, do the public participation way ahead of the budget, or by the time we are moving the budget, Mr. Speaker. So it is very important that, because those are the things that cause anxiety, those are the things that are causing anxiety even for the current government, because of the policy change. Policies also follow resources. And so it can't be that one person wakes up this morning and says, remove examination fee, and then Kenyans make noise, return examination fee, and then some of it, private schools, some people can afford it. It is important that we look at the policies that we make, and so that they do not bring anxiety amongst Kenyans. I would also want to say this, Mr. Speaker, that it is important for Kenyans to note that we have moved to 4.2 trillion this budget, and it is important also to note that there are key sectors that have been factored. And one of the factors, and even as members of parliament, we always get a message when the money for older persons, 25.7 billion has been factored this financial year, and we always get a message when that money has been released. There's also money for persons living with disability, 1.5 billion, and overseas, 9.1 billion. And so it is important to note that we are taking care of the most vulnerable in our society and in our communities. We have been seeing also the UHC workers, and especially those who worked very hard, especially when we had COVID in our country. The 6.1 billion towards making permanent and pensionable has been factored, and I do hope that by the end of this year, they will all be onboarded. Mr. Speaker, also we have money for livestock insurance, 2.3 billion. And we also have Kenya Livestock Commercialization Program, 1.57 billion. Mr. Speaker, there is an issue of equalization fund, which has been spoken to by my colleague, Honorable Makali. We have to have an honest conversation, and even as this House, which passes the same policies, and I know that the third policy is coming up, Mr. Speaker, we have to agree that this issue of delocalizing more equalization fund to ward level is not working. There was a reason why in the Constitution we had the counties that were listed in the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. And I know that in a few years, many of us will be asking why equalization fund is not working. It is not working because we moved from I think it's 13 counties, and we went further towards, Mr. Speaker, and so a ward gets about 7 million. Equalization fund was to move us from where we were to where the rest of the country was. So now if we continue with the policy that we have, and I know that there's another policy coming up, we have to give the money to the counties where the Constitution spoke about, so that equalization fund can actually make sense, Mr. Speaker, so that those counties can also move from where we are to where we are. Because equalization fund, every time we ask for any additional funds in the budget, as counties who are beneficiaries of the equalization fund, we are told, but you have equalization fund. But it is this same House who raided the counties who are to be beneficiaries of equalization fund, Mr. Speaker. And so it is important that we discuss and that. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, I'm happy that in this budget we have issue of last mile. Some of our counties, where I come from, we are very, some money would be taken in and it will cater for long lines of electricity, Mr. Speaker. We all know and understand that electricity is a game changer, just as water. Mr. Speaker, a budget in some counties, there are counties in this House, Mr. Speaker, or constituencies, who actually don't need any transformers anymore. They have electricity up to nowhere. But there are counties, Mr. Speaker, in this House or constituencies who actually need electricity. Actually, there are counties like my county, we are less than 20%, Mr. Speaker. I'm sure Marakwet is the same. I'm sure Marsabit is the same. And so the money being given to REREC, they should look at the counties and the constituencies where they have the minimal allocation or the coverage of electricity, Mr. Speaker. As I get to the end, there is also the issue of water, which is a key issue, and it's important that we ensure that also those areas where we have issues of water are taken care of. And in this budget, Mr. Speaker, we actually looked at it, and I want to also thank the departmental committees for the work that they actually did. There's also the issue of community health promoters. There is 3.2 billion. Mr. Speaker, the issue of pending bill and corruption. We cannot continue to politicize those two issues. We either have to do it or not do it as a country. Pending bill, we also have to think why we commit what we don't have as a country, because that's why it becomes a pending bill. If a ministry or a department does not have the money, why are you engaging a contractor without the money, without the exchequer? So, you know, we can romanticize and make it look good because we are defending contractors whose pending bill has not been paid. And they should learn from NGCDF, because NGCDF is what has received the highest bashing. But I want to say NGCDF is one of the best examples that people have to look at. You can never commit what you don't have. If it is not in your code list, if it is not in your AIE, if you pay before, it will not be paid, Mr. Speaker. And so we have to rethink as a country that it cannot just be until you have the money, you cannot engage. But also the issue of exchequer, it cannot also be left to Treasury to decide who gets the money and not. Finally, because I've seen the light on issue of corruption. The day we stop politicizing corruption as a country is when it will work. So that it doesn't matter that today you've shifted camps in government. You know, it is almost becoming ridiculous because Kenyans can read through the politics of corruption. If we are going for any member who is engaged in corruption, Mr. Speaker, as a nation, Mr. Speaker, just give me 1 minute to conclude this issue of corruption, and then just 1 minute. You know, we have to be serious, also even as a country and this house. We cannot continue to talk about corruption, but it is very, very obvious that the last time you are in UDA, you are being arrested. Now you are not being arrested because as a governor or as an MP. Now you've gone to Amonyoro, you're being arrested. If you're engaged in corruption, you are engaged in corruption. It doesn't matter which side you are on. So we either become serious as a nation and as a country, or we stop talking about the issue of corruption. Or you just have to be on the right side of government. I was with one governor who told me, I am on a certain side, but I have to be good so that I am not gone for. You know, we have to be real as a country. Otherwise, we stop discussing these issues of corruption every time, corruption. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Moshira. Yes.
Thank you for Oljorok to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity, and I start to support the motion as it was moved by the chairman for Budget and Appropriation Committee. And Mr. Speaker, I want to really thank the chairman and the members of the Budget Committee where I serve, because through constant engagement with the Treasury, these budgets, in these estimates, we have reduced the fiscal deficit from 5.1 in the last financial year to 4.5 in the coming fiscal year 25-26. And Mr. Speaker, this has been achieved by ensuring that we have realistic revenue projection, because, Mr. Speaker, previously we've been over-projecting our revenue. But in the tabled budget estimates, we've ensured that we have the projected revenue is as realistic as possible. Mr. Speaker, we've also achieved this through the rationalization of the expenditure by ensuring that we have included only the essential expenditure estimates. But speaking of the fiscal deficit, Mr. Speaker, we've also realized that we've been focusing so much on the revenue side through taxation measures and such. And in this report, Mr. Speaker, we have recommended that we also focus on the expenditure side by ensuring that we eliminate wasteful expenditure in the government. And one of the sectors that we picked is the rental expenditure. The government department and SAGA, we realized that we pay billions of money every year in terms of rent. And some of the leases, actually, Mr. Speaker, are entered in dollar denomination, such that when we had volatility in our sharing, we were paying huge amount of money in terms of rent. And one of the recommendations that we've made is that we should ensure that we reform our rent policy and ensure that we are optimally using our revenue space that we have. And number two, by ensuring that we do cost-benefit analysis such that we check the amount of rent that we are paying and we compare with how much we would incur if we were to buy a building to act as an office space for our officers. And number two, Mr. Speaker, we also took notice of our appropriation in aids. And we found that the projected appropriation in aid come in the next fiscal year is 560 billion. And Mr. Speaker, as a committee, we recommended that we need to reassess the overall framework governing our A&A. And in these estimates, we have allocated some money to answer full operationalization of the Treasury Single account to ensure that our collection of appropriation in aid is transparent, accountable, and efficiency. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, as I go to education sector, as many other speakers have said, we've provided money to recruit 20,000 interns in the coming fiscal year. We've also provided resources for promotion of teachers. But as we do this, Mr. Speaker, we also recommended that the promotion of teachers needs to be transparent and fair. Back in our constituencies, we have many teachers complaining that they attend interviews, but they are never promoted. The TSC needs to change their policy such that the promotion is fair and transparent. We've also allocated funds for medical scheme for the teachers. And again, this is another area that TSC needs to look at. We have so many complaints out there from our teachers that, for instance, in the medical scheme that they have, that if, for instance, you have two beneficiaries who are sick, you are told to choose one that will be treated. And this is unfair, Mr. Speaker. And of course, as many other speakers have said, we've provided money for exams, KCSE, CAPSEA, and grade 9 exams. So our students need to rest easy and work hard because their exams will be catered for. Mr. Speaker, as I finalize, I need to mention, and this issue I also raised in the last financial year, the issue of Senate Oversight Fund. And it's important for members to know in this budget, there is 500 million for the Senate Oversight Fund. This is not money for development. It's important for the public to know some senators take home as high as 29 million, not for development. for the oversight. How they get extra money for oversight, yet they are paid, they have salaries to oversight. How they get extra money to oversight, not for development, 29 million. Mr. Speaker, there are women reps who get 6 million a year, and we are able to see what they are doing with 6 million. This is 29 million, one senator, 25 million, another senator, money for fuel, I don't know money for what, to do the oversight. It is time, Mr. Speaker, this House, and there is no legal framework for this money. There is no legal framework for the Senate Oversight Fund. So it is time this House, the National Assembly, which has the sole mandate of budgeting and appropriation of fund, take a hard stance and make the right decision in terms of appropriation of this money. 500 million, Mr. Speaker, is the money that if it's taken to NGCDF, every constituency would get enough money to do classrooms. We still have issues with the classrooms in our constituencies. Mr. Speaker, as I support the estimate. Thank you.
Honorable Kanguku Bowen. Yeah, there are members the previous speaker had designated to speak.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support the budget estimate 2025-2026. And Mr. Speaker, allow me to start by congratulating my good friend, the member for Aleko Usonga, and the chair of budget, Mheshimiwa Atandi, for a very good report. Mr. Speaker, we as chairs of committees, we had an engagement with the Budget and Appropriation Committee led by the Honorable Atandi. And Mr. Speaker, it was a very, very interactive session where all of us, we had to present what the ministries, the departments presented before us. And what I have seen from the chair is what actually we presented. Initially, Mr. Speaker, we have had in maybe one or two occasions, we have had issues with the budget committee in the past, where sometimes the departmental committee chairs, when they submit their reports, it is mutilated, and the document you see in the floor and what we presented was different. But this time around, Mr. Speaker, I want to confirm that what we presented is actually what's in the floor of the House, and I want to congratulate the Honorable Chair. Number two, Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the committee and the Treasury for the good job they have done. It's a balanced budget. It's a very balanced budget in terms of regional projects, in terms of cutting across the departments, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I have seen the allocation given to the executive, given to the judiciary, and given to this House or the Parliament, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, what I would want to ask the Honorable Chair and the Budget Committee next time, we need to see on how we can increase the budget of judiciary to complete some projects which they had started. There are so many high courts and low courts which have stalled in many stages, in many counties, in many constituencies. Mr. Speaker, some of us where we come from, we have to travel almost 200 kilometers to just access, that is the nearest magistrate court. So there is need to take these judicial services closer to the people. And I will support, Mr. Speaker, if there will be an increment in the budget for judiciary. Mr. Speaker,
the Honorable Chair of the Justice and Legal Affairs is obviously taking note of that, including the stalled construction of the High Court in Omabay.
Yes. Not only that one in Omabay, Mr. Speaker, if you are given an account of the stalled projects or the high courts and magistrates across the country, there are many. And there is need, Mr. Speaker, that's why we are saying, going forward, as we appropriate monies, Mr. Speaker, let us start first checking on the vending bills. The second charge, Mr. Speaker, must be ongoing projects. Before we start a new projects, Mr. Speaker, there is need to complete the already ongoing projects. There are so many ongoing projects in roads, in water, in electricity, which are ongoing, but they have stalled. Mr. Speaker, having said that, the allocation, Mr. Speaker, given to agriculture is very encouraging. You saw last year, Mr. Speaker, especially some of us coming from the North Rift region, which are dealing with maize. When farmers were given a subsidized fertilizers, Mr. Speaker, there's been, I think, triple production of maize across the country. What we only need to ask, Mr. Speaker, is that these farmers actually, they have been encouraged to produce. But sometimes, again, the market or the price given is very low. There is need, Mr. Speaker, to, allocate more resources to National Cereals and Produce Board so that they can purchase at least more than 5,000 per 90 kilogram of maize. Mr. Speaker, I have also seen in the budget the allocation given to the Ministry of Health. Mr. Speaker, if you remember, some 3 months ago, Kenyans were complaining. There were a lot of complaints about the SHA, but now the complaints has gone down. And with the additional allocation given to the SHA, the primary health care, Mr. Speaker, I'm sure our people will benefit if they are able to register themselves in large numbers and register themselves using the county system. Mr. Speaker, they will benefit from this healthcare system. Mr. Speaker, on the water sector,